All right, East Loop, eastbound downtown. We've got a crash right before Jefferson Street. That's going to be the First Street exit 47 there. Still about an hour's drive west of Nashville, trying to get to Nashville between Bucksnort and the Centerville-Dixon Highway exit. We got an overturned semi that dumped 40,000 pounds of produce. The eastbound lanes of 40 are still blocked. That is really backed up. Going both directions, actually. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Time to kick off another of a limited edition that remain of the drive. That's right. We got Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. Then we are out of here. Just call me Short Timer. No, I'll be around. I'll be around. We've been talking about all that, and I will tell you this: everybody, I am not going to be doing a daily show. You know that, but I'm not going to be gone either. I'm going to be around. I'm hard to get rid of. I mean, you think you're done with me, and then all of a sudden I pop back up.
You're like bubble gum on hot Georgia asphalt.
I was going to say a rash.
Yeah, that just won't go away. Oh, we thought we got rid of him, but look, he's back. No, I'll be around filling in and doing this, that, and the other. There's some exciting things that we'll be sharing, I think, in the days ahead after having some conversation with the folks who are the big managers there at Super Talk. So anyway, that we'll talk about that a bit more. But let me just say we've got a lot of news to cover here today. First and foremost is what's going on Capitol Hill with this whole budget situation. The government poised to shut down if they can't pass a funding bill of some kind. They were on track to do something. They were going to take a vote yesterday. And then Donald Trump and J.D. Vance said, we don't like this omnibus bill, this Christmas tree bill that you guys are putting together. Way too much pork in it, way too much spending that doesn't need. And by the way, we don't think you guys need a pay raise. And so they put out a joint statement. And then immediately, Elon Musk started a campaign on X that followed what the president and the vice president-elect and the vice president-elect had said, and said, look, if you're a member of Congress and you're in favor of this, you should not be in Congress. You shouldn't ever, feel comfortable about your situation. And, that was that's sort of a threat. Because, there's only one guy out there who has the money to take on all of Capitol Hill, and that would be Elon Musk. And so what he seemed to be saying without coming out and saying it was, if you vote for this monstrosity of a bill, this messed up, mangled up funding package that the Democrats have come up with, then you shouldn't be serving in Congress. And that was sort of a suggestion that, well, you might get primaried. We might come out against you. And nothing gets the attention of a member of Congress as the potential of losing their cushy job. So immediately it became clear that there weren't going to be enough votes on the Republican side of the equation to pass this thing. And the Democrats immediately let it be known that, well, if you don't pass that thing that we all agreed to, this was the end result of negotiations. And they said, we had a deal, and if the deal falls apart, don't count on any votes from us. Became very clear that what was going to happen was the thing was going to fail miserably. So, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, reluctantly, I think, pulled it back. pulled it back and said, you know what, we're not going to deal with that. We'll find a plan B. And they're in the middle of plan B right now. On Capitol Hill, some members have described it in very colorful ways. Here's Representative Anna Paulina talking about what the situation is right now.
The fact is that, look, this is a sandwich. I don't know how else to say that. We're being forced into this position. They could have done a standalone. They did this because they knew that it would put members in this position to support it. We're damned if we do. We're damned if we don't.
Yeah, I love what she says. I'll clean it up. It was a crap sandwich. You know, it's not very something that you don't want to have to deal with. So it is a mess that they've gotten themselves into, but they sort of did it to themselves, I think. And the American people don't want to have a bunch of bloated spending. That's just what we voted against. And so with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy coming out against it, the whole thing fell apart. Here's incoming majority leader. He's not the majority leader yet, but he will be soon. John Thune talking about the situation being, well, complicated.
The tweets from Musk and others, has that complicated this?
Well, I think that there's always a lot of interest in what's happening up here, and
this is more than interest. They're telling people if they vote yes, they should be voted out.
the social media world is a part of our politics, and I think members have to expect that. There will be a lot of hard votes in the next couple of years.
Yeah, a lot of hard votes, and this is going to be one of them. It's starting already. It's the beginning of Doge. It really is. This is the kind of stuff that, everybody wondered, well, will Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy really have any impact? Well, they just did. If you had any doubt that they were going to have an impact on government spending, you should be disabused of that notion effective yesterday. Because they really blew this thing up. Here's a story from the Populist Times. X has truly become a powerful tool for government accountability. With another government shutdown looming, the House this week proposed a continuing resolution to raise the debt ceiling and fund the government. In true government fashion, the bill was stacked with exceeding excess spending, including 40% raises for Congress and millions more for Ukraine. But as after a statement by J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, followed by another statement by Elon Musk, here's what he said. Any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years. That's a not too veiled threat, isn't it? After more than a dozen posts by Musk critical of the bill and those who support it, Fox News announced the bill was effectively dead, crediting Musk and X for the bill's defeat. And after the bill was defeated, many are calling on Representative Mike Johnson to step down as Speaker for putting forward such a horrible bill. In fact, his whole speakership, it was thought he would be reelected as Speaker. I'm not so sure now. Mike Johnson says he has no choice but to propose a spending package like this. But the question is, well, how is it going to get resolved? Well, we'll get into Plan B in a moment. But here's an interesting thing from Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. We have many listeners in Kentucky. Senator Rand Paul suggested that Elon Musk should become the Speaker of the House. Now, you may not know it, but you don't have to be a member of Congress to be a Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House need not be a member of Congress. Nothing would disrupt the swamp more than electing Elon Musk. Think about it. Nothing's impossible. That would be something, wouldn't it? How do you feel about that while we're plowing through all of the basics of this story? I'm going to open up the phone lines at 615-737-9986. What do you think about Rand Paul's suggestion that Elon Musk should be the Speaker of the House? Man, would that be something? Talk about somebody who is completely untouchable. There's nobody that could touch him. He's got more money than God. And, what does he need? Nobody's going to be able to say, well, I'm not going to fund your this, or I'm not going to fund you that. I'm not going to help you get reelected. He doesn't need to be reelected. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said she would be open to supporting Musk to replace Speaker Mike Johnson. I'd be open to supporting Elon Musk for Speaker of the House. Doge can only truly be accomplished by reining in Congress to enact real government efficiency. The establishment needs to be shattered just like it was yesterday. This could be the way. It really could be.
This is the way.
This is the way.
That's the right. I'd be open. So there you go. Musk is the co-leader of President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, an advisory panel focused on cutting spending and the size of the federal government. He and fellow Doge co-leader Vivek Ramaswamy helped drive a wave of opposition to a bipartisan spending deal Wednesday, ultimately ending in Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance urging Republicans to oppose the measure. Several Democrats criticized Musk and claimed he, not Trump, was driving the president-elect's position. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think Donald Trump gets led around by anyone. I really don't. But it's a fascinating idea. Now, how is this going to be resolved? While we're waiting on phone calls at 615-737-9986. How do you feel about Elon? How do you feel about, are you ready for a government shutdown is the other question. And are you okay with that? I am. The House now eyeing a Plan B stopgap with a separate two-part debt limit commitment. This comes from thehill.com. This is sort of in the weeds, but here we go. House Republicans are eyeing an alternative government funding stopgap that excludes a debt ceiling increase and are instead working on a commitment to raise the borrowing limit twice next year in a bid to appease President-elect Trump, two sources told The Hill. The new continuing resolution, which is still being hashed out and could change, would be similar to the spending plan Speaker Mike Johnson rolled out earlier this week, minus a handful of policy provisions, including language that would provide lawmakers with a pay raise. You strike that, you strike some other stuff, and put it back up. Can it get the support that it needs? That's the question. Let's see. I have something from Steve Scalise on that. Here's what he had to say. Steve Scalise came out of a meeting and he said,
We're focused on making sure that doesn't happen, but, we're not the only ones that control that. So we're going to try to get it done today.
Try to get it done today. He's talking about, are you going to shut down the government?
We're focused on making sure that doesn't happen, but, we're not the only ones that control that. So we're going to try to get it done today.
Well, will they get it done? I hope that they will, because, I'm not afraid to have the government shut down, quite frankly. I'm just not worried about it. Trump has let the government shut down before when he was president, the first time. So I don't have a problem with it. Well, to the phone lines we go. Mike in Nashville, start us off. First of all, how do you feel about this idea of Elon Musk being Speaker of the House? And if it comes down to it, are you ready for the government to shut down? Does that bother you one whit? Hello, Mike, you're up. Mike, are you there? Let's go to the next call. Marie in Nashville. Marie, you're on with Brian on the drive. So, Marie, how do you feel about this idea of Elon Musk being the Speaker of the House, and are you ready for a government shutdown? Would that bother you at all?
No, government probably needs to shut down, actually. We need to show power, and Mike Johnson is weak. He needs to go. I don't know if Elon would want the job, but if he does, I'm totally in support of it. But we have powerful people taking over, and the weak must go, and the powerful must stay. So I'm fine with it, and yes.
You're done with Mike Johnson.
Yes, I am. We can't have, for him to even roll that out just shows weakness to me. We can't have that anymore. We have a mandate in this country, and we have to do what the people have elected everybody to do. And, yeah, we can't have weak like that anymore. I think he needs to go.
I do think that Johnson's in a tough position because he only controls one half of one body of government. Democrats currently control the White House and the Senate and essentially half the House. So it's a little tough, but he did not read the tea leaves well here. He should have known that this was going to blow up in his face because it was more of the same. And we just held an election that said we don't want more of the same. Wes, out on the road, so what's your take on us? Are you okay? Wes, are you okay with, Elon Musk as Speaker? Would you be in favor of that idea?
I love the idea, but I don't think he can be. He's not a native-born citizen.
No, he doesn't have to be.
Oh, I thought he was in the line of succession.
That doesn't matter. I mean, they could just skip him. I mean, there are people you could go right over him. So, well, the Speaker of the House can't. There's no requirement that the Speaker of the House be a natural-born citizen, but he is in the line of succession. But they would just go to the next person. Well, he's not eligible. Who's the next up? And I think.
Okay, I didn't know you could do that.
I think it would be the president pro tempore of the Senate. I think would be the next person up if it ever got past the vice president. But you got the vice president, and then it's supposed to go to the Speaker of the House, and I think it goes to the president pro tem of the Senate, which is the oldest serving member of the Senate of the party in charge. That's the president pro tem. I think that would be Chuck Grassley right now, but I think you could go right over him. I think that's the way it would work. James in Lebanon, you're up with Brian on the drive. What do you say, James? Do you like this idea?
I do like the idea. It'd be better than any congressman that's in there now. All it is, to me, honestly, in my opinion, is a puppet position for these corporate lobbyists since we passed Citizens United and got all this dark money into our politics. But another thing you were touching on earlier, sir, I think we need to stand a little more firm when we let these people try to pit Trump and Elon against each other. This is a huge team effort. We didn't just elect Trump in there. We elected an entire team. So I don't think we should fall into that trap. We did elect Trump. He's our leader. But he's bringing a lot of solid team players with him, people we also wanted in there.
So I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you there, James.
Against each other.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not going to buy into that. I think there are these the team that he's put together. Remember, the first thing that happened that started. I mean, Elon Musk didn't tweet or X or whatever you do nowadays. He didn't do anything until after the president and the vice president-elect came out and said, "We don't like this thing." It was Trump who blew it up. It was just Elon then jumping on it and putting the fear in a great number of House members. Listen, what do you think about it? 615-737-9986. Got to take a break. 22 minutes past the hour. A lot of diagnoses out there and a pill for just about anything, but not all diagnoses are correct and not all pills are good for you. When you get a diagnosis for European auto repair, maybe you ought to stop and get a second opinion before you make a major decision. And Eurofix is the home for second opinions. Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle repair from a diagnosis you got someplace else, why don't you go to Eurofix? It could not only save your vehicle's life, could save you a lot of money. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit. No high-pressure sales tactics. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you never pay dealer prices. Located in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and their newest location, Mount Juliet. Just call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, sent you.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spice and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
House Republicans preparing to roll out Plan B to avoid a government shutdown. And hear from the CEO murder suspect's attorney coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The fact is that, look, this is a sandwich.
Not to put too fine a point on it, that's Congresswoman Anna Paulina. She says that she doesn't think much of where we are in the situation, but this whole plan that was, it was close. They were going to take it to the floor yesterday afternoon. Trump looked at it and said, "We are not going to do that." J.D. Vance said, "We're not going to do that." Then you got Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, who crashed the boards and said, "You know what? If you vote for that, you should not be reelected." Which was sort of a veiled threat that, if you vote for this, we're going to come after you. We'll primary you. We'll make sure you don't have any money for your reelection effort. And that got the rapid attention of all Republicans in the House of Representatives. And so now they find themselves, trying to find another way to fund the government going forward. And how it's all going to be resolved is unclear. But that crap sandwich that they talked about is not going to become law of the land. That funding bill is dead, and they're looking for a plan B. And amid it all, there's now a call for Elon Musk to perhaps be the next Speaker of the House. I could see that getting some traction up on Capitol. How do you feel about all of this? Mike in Nashville, you're up next on The Drive. What do you say, Mike? Mike, are you there?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your thought?
Yeah, I think that, I like the idea of Elon Musk being the speaker because, like you say, he can't be bought and paid for, and that's what we need. Like this guy Johnson. I never have trusted this guy. This guy seems to float. Sometimes he's a Democrat, and then sometimes he sides with the Republicans. And Donald Trump has tried to work with this guy over the last year or two, and it seems like this guy continues to fail. So, hopefully Donald Trump will get rid of this guy and bring in Elon Musk, somebody he can trust and somebody that can get the job done and do the job the way it's supposed to be done. Unlike, when Nancy Pelosi ruined his 4 years in the White House when she was Speaker. So hopefully we can get Musk in there, somebody that's loyal to Donald Trump, and they will try to work with him instead of trying to make his job difficult. And I thank you for taking my call.
You betcha, Mike. Nice thought there. Thomas Massey, Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky says he can't vote for Johnson.
Have any other of your colleagues said that they're not voting for Johnson?
I've talked to a few, who don't seem like they're going to vote for him. You have to ask them. I'm not going to betray anybody's position.
Will you just vote president, or will you vote someone else's?
I'll vote for somebody else.
Yeah, and how many others will go along with that? It could be the end of Speaker Mike Johnson. One more call. We got to run. Thomas in Nashville, you're up with Brian on The Drive. What do you say, Thomas?
Yeah, hey, Brian. I'm kind of torn. On one hand, I really like kind of some of the things that Mike Johnson was doing up until this moment. But on the other hand, Elon being a bureaucrat, for lack of a better word, puts a lot of power in somebody who's not elected hands if we make him speaker. And with all of his other influence on social media and in the business corporate environment, I'm just wondering, not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but how comfortable do we feel putting so much power into just one person's hands that is not elected by the people?
Yeah, he's basically operating as a citizen right now. A private citizen. He doesn't have, even though DOGE is a thing they talk about with the Trump administration coming in, it's not a government agency. So basically, he works in tangent with the current or the incoming president of the United States to try to further his policies. It's a pretty powerful 1-2 punch, really. But he doesn't really have any governmental authority. All he has is the ability to bring pressure to bear, and he did that pretty effectively, I would say, yesterday. We'll talk more about this throughout the day. Right now, 31 minutes past the hour. Time for the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Cold with a few flurries. And the wind, it's going to be biting. We'll tell you about it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital, Republicans say they have a plan B to keep the government from shutting down. President-elect Trump calls it a success all caps on his Truth Social. It pushes out the debt ceiling 2 years. And President-elect Trump says all Republicans and even the Democrats should do what is best for our country and vote yes, he says. And he says do it tonight. The man charged with killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is in jail in New York. A judge ordering Luigi Mangione detained after his court appearance today. He did not enter a plea to stalking and murder charges that carries a terrorism aspect. He faces federal charges, too, and his lawyer, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, wouldn't answer questions outside of court.
We're going to respectfully decline to make any comment at this time, but Mr. Mangione appreciates everyone's support. Thank you so much.
Next court appearance in January. Here in Nashville, Metro Police says a special initiative to combat vehicle theft and related crimes just hit a milestone. 1,000 arrests since it started February 1st. Detectives say on Wednesday they stopped 28-year-old Corey Harding in a stolen Dodge Ram pickup near Trinity Lane and Whites Creek Pike yesterday. He ran away, but was caught in a women's boutique pretending to buy a dress. Sentencing Thursday in the trial that has shaken France. 72-year-old Dominique Polico given the maximum prison sentence of 20 years after he was found guilty of all charges in the gang rapes and drugging of his wife. Here's Tom Sufi Burridge.
Police think there were about 70 men who went round to the family home over nearly a decade, invited, recruited online by Dominic Pellico, and then basically filmed by him as they raped and abused his then wife. It's an absolutely horrific case.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Well, the crashes are piling up. We've got the East Loop eastbound right before Jefferson Street. That's going to be exit 47. 40 eastbound near Spence Lane. 24 westbound at Harding Place in Antioch. And we still got that overturned tractor trailer blocking 40 eastbound between Bucksnort, that's exit 152, and Centerville-Dixon Highway 48, exit 163. Just the left lane blocked now, but it's still very slow go through there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
What was it like the last time you went to an auto repair shop? Was it smelly? Was it stinky? Were there greasy old rags lying around? Was the place filthy, afraid to get dirty just being there? Another thing that stinks is repair shops that keep your car forever. They're not honest, and they don't call you back when they say they will. If that was your last experience at a vehicle repair shop, listen, I want you to think about Eurofix. Eurofix takes the stink out of European auto repair. At Eurofix, you'll get a free 15-minute, no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit, no high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you'll get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment, and never pay dealer prices. Located in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now their newest location in Mount Juliet. Just call this number, 844-EUROFIX, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, sent you. It's 39 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. On this 19th day of December, we just got just a few more days. There's 6 more days till Christmas, which means there are 5 shopping days. I'm going to have to get busy on that.
You better get it done.
I don't know. I'm up against it. I suppose I'm going to have to get out there and do that. Well, anyway, yeah, I've had my hands full. You know what? I'm just going to say this. Retirement, you think, retirement. Life is easy, going to retire. It is hard work getting ready to retire. It's really hard work. It's been I've been talking to Social Security and Medicare people and supplemental this and Plan A and B that. I mean, it's been driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And so it is like every day I wake up with a list of things I got to get done, before I can actually retire. But I'm wading my way through the list. I'll tell you.
We might want to bump the Christmas shopping up to the top of that list because you're running out of time.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
I want to mess that up.
Well, today I made great progress on all that other stuff. So, I'm hoping that I can do that. So, yeah, I got to get busy. The house is looking pretty festive, and I haven't had time to go Christmas shopping. So I better get on that. I guess maybe tomorrow, Saturday. Other than that, I don't know when it's going to get done. Let's talk about Fani Willis. Fani Willis has had a major loss. The judge basically has disqualified DA Fani Willis from going forward with the Trump election case in Georgia. He let the indictment stand, but he said, Fani Willis, you can't do that. I mean, Fani Willis wanted to stay in there. And after it had been revealed that, she hired her lover to prosecute the case. And there was all kinds of, conflict of interest stuff with that. And she said, no, I still want to stay on the case. And I think Judge finally came out and said,
what you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about? There's an oldie but a goodie.
What you talking about, Willis?
Georgia Appeals Court today disqualified Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from overseeing the criminal election interference prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump and other defendants. Another win for Trump, another loss for all of these people who've been trying to get him with lawfare. I mean, is there any case now that is anything short of being in shambles? It seems like everything is falling apart. Isn't that interesting? You bring a case here, you bring a case there. Everybody's got to bring a case. But, when things start to play out and you start fighting back, you found out there wasn't much there. It was all an attempt to try to derail Trump in his effort to run for re-election. That's what it was. That they wanted to derail his candidacy. And American people have seen through it. They know exactly what's going on here. And they were also saying,
what you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about? This isn't a case. So what happens now? She's been disqualified. Is the case gone? No. But they're going to have to bring in a new special prosecutor, somebody who apparently is not having a sexual affair with Fani Willis, I would imagine, would be helpful. And that person must decide what's going on. Over on Fox News, their legal expert, he's a real smart guy. Jonathan Turley was trying to figure out how this all might play out in the days ahead. And he thinks that whoever comes in is going to look at it and say, like Anna Paulina did say, this is a crap sandwich. I'm not getting in the middle of this.
Even though this decision was based on the conduct of Willis herself, any new prosecutor would have to decide whether and what to prosecute. In my view, this RICO case against the president has been hopelessly flawed from the beginning. I've never seen a RICO case like that. So many prosecutors might seriously want this cup to pass from their lips. But the immediate impact of this decision is overwhelming in terms of Willis herself. I mean, this court is basically saying that these cases are not supposed to be sort of vanity projects. You know, you were told by the lower court that you created this appearance of impropriety. And the question for the court is why you didn't remove yourself. Many of us at the time said that most prosecutors would have seen that their continuation of the case was harming the case and harming the public interest. Willis simply refused to give up the ghost and insisted she wanted to be the lead in it. She was wrong to go after Trump on this basis. She clearly wanted to engage in lawfare, and that's one of the reasons why she wouldn't give up the case. You know, when this issue was first raised, many of us wrote at the time that the correct move is to remove yourself. You selected a former lover as the lead counsel that violated, in my view, core ethical requirements. He was ultimately disqualified by the court. But Judge McCaffrey gave her a chance to do the right thing. He said, look, your conduct is wrong here, and you can remove yourself. Well, he was talking to the wrong person. She had no interest in removing herself. I mean, lawfare is only valuable if you're the lead warrior, and she was not going to give up that position. The thing is, this case, I think, would have collapsed by its own weight, and that's the reason I would be surprised if an independent prosecutor looked at this and decided to continue it against Trump.
Yep, I think it's dead. Here's the way CNBC put it. The Court of Appeals let stand the indictment against the defendants who were accused of crimes related to their efforts to overturn Trump's loss in Georgia's 2020 election to President Joe Biden. However, Trump's criminal defense attorneys argued later Thursday that the ruling on Willis put an effective end to the case against the president-elect. The decision overturns a Fulton County Superior Court judge ruling that allowed Willis to remain on the case despite arguments by Trump's attorneys that she should be disqualified due to the impropriety of her romantic relationship with Nathan Wade, the top prosecutor whom she had picked to lead the case. The Court of Appeals in its decision said that the remedy offered by Judge Scott McAfee, which let Willis remain on the case if Wade withdrew from handling it, was improper. After carefully considering the trial court's findings in its order, we conclude that it erred by failing to disqualify D.A. Willis and her office, the appeals court said. The remedy crafted by the trial court to prevent an ongoing appearance of impropriety did nothing to address the appearance of impropriety that existed at times when D.A. Willis was exercising her broad pretrial discretion about who to prosecute and what charges to bring, the court said. Republican presidential candidate and former U.S. President Donald Trump speaks. We'll be talking about this, no doubt, in the days ahead. So there you go. Willis may also, before it's all over with, Willis may find herself having to face, a bar investigation. Did she act improperly? That's not dead yet either. So again, when you look at it, I mean, everything that has been brought and leveled against Donald Trump, given enough time and enough time to adjudicate it and work through the system, everything has sort of just fallen apart. How many, everyone was talking in the early part of the campaign. Well, how many federal, cases are there pending against him? How many charges? And every one of them, one by one, legal team pick them off. One right after another. And there were problems with each and every one of them. Spokesman for Willis didn't immediately return a request for comment. She has the option to appeal the decision to the state Supreme Court. She probably will, but I don't see that changing. We regret the push to disqualify Willis began in a bombshell filing last January by Ashley Merchant, a lawyer for a co-defendant in the case, Mike Roman, in which they revealed for the very first time the relationship between Willis and Wade. We regret that Ms. Willis did not do the right thing and voluntarily recuse herself, Merchant said Thursday. This failure of judgment is the exact reason Mr. Roman was forced to move to disqualify her in the first place, so we are thankful that the court agreed she should not be allowed to prosecute the case any further. Willis last year charged Trump and 18 others including former advisors Rudy Giuliani and Mark Meadows, with participating in a criminal enterprise to subvert Joe Biden's 2020 election victory. They all pleaded not guilty, but 4 co-defendants later reached plea deals with Willis's office, including former Trump legal advisors Sidney Powell and Jenna Ellis. You know, basically, what this whole thing was about was that he made phone calls and said, hey, you know, we're looking for some votes. There's nothing wrong, by the way, with those phone calls, as far as I can tell. Trump chimed in an exclusive interview with Fox News. The president-elect slammed the entire case, saying it should be dismissed. He lashed out at Willis for engaging in corrupt behavior, demanded an apology for himself and others who have been caught up in these proceedings. It was started by the Biden DOJ as an attack on his political opponent, Donald Trump said. They used anyone and anybody, and she has been disqualified, and her boyfriend has been disqualified, and they stole funds and went on trips. Trump said the case should not be allowed to go any further. There's no way such corrupt people can lead a case, and then it gets taken over by somebody else. It was a corrupt case, so how could it be taken over by someone else? The case has to be thrown out because it was started corruptly by an incompetent prosecutor who received millions of dollars through her boyfriend, who received it from her, and they went on to cruises at the time, talking about all the relationship. The case should be entirely dead, Trump said. Everybody should receive an apology, including those wonderful patriots who have been caught up in this for years. 51 minutes now past the hour. King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood has been in business for some 25 years as an independent agency. Listen, an independent agency, it's what you want. They can actually look around and find a really good policy. They're not required to take the one policy they have like the internet companies do. Yeah, we'll get you set up. Here's the case. Here's the policy we have that fits you. It might be trying to push a square peg into a round hole, but here's our policy. Well, no, over at King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood, they'll shop around a bunch of different companies and find that one that fits you just right. You get more bang for your insurance buck when they do that. And when you call this number, 615-329-8121, you don't reach a phone call center. You don't reach a recording telling you that the call is important to when you know it's not. You'll actually talk to a human being. How about that? Multi-policy discounts, they're the kings of that. 20, 25, 30, 35% savings are possible. So what you need to do is get your royal review today with King and Associates Insurance. Just log on to tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance and Associates, royal treatment, great rates.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
You know, we wish it were the case, but if you have back pain, it really is, pressure on your nerves in most cases. And you know, we'd love to be able to take a pill or rub some spinal creams on there, and that would fix the problem. But that's not the way it works generally. You have a couple of choices. One is surgery. The other is non-invasive spinal decompression. And I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Their state-of-the-art facilities and the high-tech equipment offer the latest non-surgical procedures. Because getting better is important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they're offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine. If you're a new patient, guess what? You come in, you get an exam, an x-ray if you need one. You'll sit down with the docs, come up with a plan, and you'll get your first treatment. And all of that, getting you started, only costs $23. After that, remember, half off the spinal decompression treatments. I'm Brian Wilson. I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Republicans say they have a new spending plan to avoid a government shutdown, and President-elect Trump likes it. The CEO murder suspect's headed to the same federal jail Sean Diddy Combs is in. And Metro Police celebrate a milestone with the arrest of a man who was in a women's boutique. These stories and more coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 57 minutes now past the hour. Let's take a look at the markets. We had this thing going on here where the Dow was in a funk. A 10-day losing streak, the longest losing streak in 50 years. Well, it eked out a win today, but eked out just barely. Dow Jones Industrials up 15 today, but the S&P was down 5 points. The NASDAQ was down 19. Basically a pretty flat day after a really horrible, ugly, not very good day yesterday. What's driving the market? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management for more on that. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yep. After yesterday, the market just collecting its breath a little bit after the Fed came out. They did the quarter-point rate cut, but really gave the indication they're going to be scaling back the number of rate cuts in 2025. It's known as a hawkish cut by the Fed. The market certainly didn't like that. Had a pop this morning, then it pulled back. Some good news did come out. GDP was revised up 3.1 from 2.8, and there was a decrease in weekly unemployment claims. But really the market is going to be a little bit on edge tomorrow. Not much rest for the market. We're going to get the PCE index, which is the Fed's favorite inflation gauge, which is something they're clearly concerned about again. So that's going to be really important to pay attention to. So the market could be pretty volatile either way tomorrow, depending on that report.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And to find out what John Maxon and the other good people can do to help you get ready for your retirement, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. Let me tell you real quick, we got this little interesting thing here. We'll talk about it maybe a little bit later. The probability of a white Christmas here in Middle Tennessee. Ooh. Well, I can tell you right now, I looked at the forecast, and since it's going to be 58 degrees, I don't think that's likely to be the case.
That's probably going to be a semi turning over on I-24 hauling flour.
But here's the thing. If you just look at the history of it all, according to WKRN, there's a 5% chance on average. So out of every 100 years, 5 years, we have a white Christmas.
It won't be this one, huh?
Yeah, well, probably, unless something happens, it's not going to be this one.
All right.
A lot more ahead here on The Drive. Stay tuned, everybody. 59 minutes past the hour.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. In our nation's capital, emerging from closed-door meetings, the Republican chairman of the House Appropriations Committee told reporters that Republicans have reached their own agreement on a spending measure that would avoid a shutdown. President-elect Trump backs it. He says it pushed out the debt ceiling by 2 years to January 30th, 2027, and he urges Congress to pass it tonight. No comment from the attorney for CEO Brian Thompson's accused killer, Luigi Mangione, after he appeared in court today in New York after waiving extradition in Pennsylvania.
We're going to respectfully decline to make any comment at this time, but Mr. Mangione appreciates everyone's support. Thank you so much.
Aaron Kotersky says Mangione did not enter any pleas and a magistrate ordered him detained. He's due next in federal court in January when he'll most likely have to enter a plea.
In all likelihood, he is on his way now to MDC Brooklyn. That is the federal lockup closest by, just across the bridge. It's where Sean Combs happens to be incarcerated at the moment, Sam Bankman-Fried. But he is likely, given the nature of the charges and the fact that one of them carries the possibility of the death penalty, he is likely to be held in isolated fashion.
Here in Nashville, 28-year-old Corey Harding Jr. is a milestone for a new vehicle theft initiative launched by Metro Police. Harding marks the 1,000th arrest since that initiative was launched on February 1st. Police say they caught Harding yesterday trying to hide out in a women's boutique pretending to buy a dress. After he had run from a stolen pickup he was spotted in near Trinity Lane and Whites Creek Pike. Texas Governor Greg Abbott announcing messages on billboards to fight illegal immigration in his state.
We are launching a new campaign to deter illegal immigration into Texas. Yesterday, we began putting up billboards, dozens of billboards, in Central America and in Mexico. They inform potential illegal immigrants about the reality of what will happen to them if they try to enter Texas illegally.
Tells them you're going to get arrested. As bird flu cases rise in the U.S., with the first serious case of the virus in a person in Louisiana, Los Angeles County is investigating more house cats that may have had it. Here's Alex Stone.
3 more cats here in L.A. may have had bird flu. 2 others confirmed to have had it died from it this month. Those 2 got it after drinking raw milk. Humans have been warned not to drink unpasteurized raw milk right now because of the risk of it containing bird flu. Of the 3 new cat cases being investigated, 2 of those cats have died. All 3 were in the same house and lived indoors. Humans who have come in contact with infected cats are being watched for signs of the virus.
Alex Stone there in California. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. East Bank, eastbound, got a crash right before Jefferson Street. That's going to be exit 47. Right now in Hickman County, still dealing with that overturned tractor trailer. The left lane is blocked, 40 eastbound, between exit 152 and exit 163. Back here in Nashville, Berry Hill, a crash, 65 northbound near I-440. Then in Paragon Mills, injury crash, Harding Place west of Nolensville Pike. Glencliff got a car on fire. It's on the shoulder, but a lot of rubbernecking there. 40 eastbound near Spence Lane. And then in Madison, a crash, 65 northbound near Old Hickory Boulevard, exit 92. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Seven minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. Hope you're getting home safely. Hope the drive is going well for you. This drive's going okay. We're going to give you news and information. And there is breaking news this hour with regard to the potential of a government shutdown. I think the chances are that there will not be a shutdown. It's always the way it works out, isn't it? I mean, we all worry about it, and then nothing happens. I was all right with if it's going to shut down, if that's what it took. I really didn't care. You know, quite frankly, it's the end of the year. Not much gets done between Christmas and New Year's anyway. New Congress coming in, maybe they could get their act together since Republicans will control both houses then. So, that's fine. I'm okay for a week shutdown. Let the government workers take some time off. They'll get paid for it anyway. So, anyway, long story short, here is the latest. I mean, hot off the presses right now. Republicans announce a funding agreement. Thursday vote as shutdown looms. Well, it's looming Friday. House Republicans have reached an agreement on a Plan B to avert a government shutdown ahead of Friday's deadline and plan to vote on Thursday, lawmakers announced. The bill, now titled the American Relief Act, includes a 3-month continuation of government funding and a 2-year suspension of the debt limit, a provision that President-elect Trump called for on Wednesday. It keeps a chunk of the bipartisan provisions from the initial package negotiated by Speaker Mike Johnson while stripping out controversial measures like a raise for members of Congress, but there are other key differences. Getting the bill across the finish line will be tough. Democrats still control the Senate and the White House, and the Plan B package is already getting opposition from hardline conservatives in the House. Clocking in at 116 pages, the legislation is significantly shorter than the 1,500-page bipartisan deal from earlier in the week. One source said a vote is expected to the bill about 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yep. Standard Time. I lose track of where we are. And that'd be about 5:30 our time. A bill keeps roughly $100 billion in disaster relief, about $10 billion for farmer economic assistance, in line with dollar amounts included in the previous bipartisan funding agreement struck days ago. It will include a 1-year extension of the 2018 Farm Bill. It breaks from Johnson's initial package, however, language that would provide lawmakers with a pay increase. It's gone. No pay increase. Sources also said a deal for a year-round allow E15 ethanol sales will not be included. We changed the formulation on gas, and it causes a lot of problems and causes gas prices to spike about twice a year while they change the things over. So I don't know, but apparently that's not going to be included. Ethanol, by the way, just a side note, that is the biggest scam. Give me regular old gasoline every day. I don't need that.
I'm telling you.
I don't need no ethanol in my gas. And the only reason that we go along with it is because farmers in Iowa like it. They like selling their corn to be made into ethanol. And Iowa, What's interesting about Iowa is where you got to go if you want to become president of the United States. You got to go to Iowa. So everybody, I mean, it's a sacred cow. And I wish we would just do away with it. But, they say, well, it makes the environment cleaner. I'm not sure that it really does, given how dirty it is to make ethanol. It's one of the silliest things we do, but one way or the other, looks like they got a deal. Now, the question is, can it pass? This story just in from CNBC. House Republicans agreed Thursday to a short-term federal funding deal that, if approved, would avert a government shutdown set to begin late Friday night. President-elect Donald Trump quickly endorsed the revised plan, which calls for a 3-month extension of the current government spending levels. Trump and his ally Elon Musk doomed the prior funding proposal by harshly criticizing its provisions, sending Republicans scrambling all day Thursday for a replacement proposal. The new continuing resolution could be voted on Thursday night, would suspend the debt ceiling for 2 years. Now, of course, the Democrats control the Senate. John Cornyn was asked about this and, what will happen if the House passes it. This was his take, and he's sort of plugged in.
We need to reduce spending, not increase spending, and I think that's a matter of the Speaker's trying to get reconciled with his House members. If they vote something out, the Senate will pass it promptly.
So there you go. No shutdown. Gosh. Crisis averted, as it always is. Especially when members of Congress want to go home for Christmas. They can do a lot. It's amazing what they can accomplish when they want to go home for Christmas. So, there you go. They'll vote on it, and then the most dangerous place for anybody to be in Washington, D.C. will be between Capitol Hill and Reagan National Airport, because they're going to blow town. They're going to be headed over there. I mean, it's going to be like a stream of cars from Capitol Hill to Reagan. And, they have their own private parking over there.
At the airport?
Members of Congress have their own parking lot at Reagan National.
Must be nice.
Yeah. You can't get in there unless you're a member of Congress. So anyway, they'll go over there and blow town, and we'll live to fight. The next time, essentially, I don't know if when do they, as they go sine die? I don't know. I have to look that up. But anyway, that will pretty much wrap things up between now and the end of the year. And when they come back, the new Congress will be in place, and Republicans will control the House and the Senate. So I don't know. Apparently, Trump is okay now with Mike Johnson. Does that mean that he can survive as Speaker? I don't know. There's some people who are still, sort of hacked off at Mike Johnson that he didn't try to fight harder for something that like what we ended up with, and that the only reason that he did it was because Trump and J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk all got on board and said, you can't do that. Don't do that. So they've gone from a 1,500-page bill to a, 15-page bill, something like that. That's amazing. So we'll see how that all works out. Looks like we'll be watching the clock this afternoon to see whether it passes the House and then whether it can pass the Senate. We may have this whole thing wrapped up by the time we get done tonight. Could be. If indeed the Senate is just going to take whatever the House sends them and vote on it and live to fight another day, then that would be, I think, a really good outcome. Tremendous. We'll talk more about this, I promise you, in the next hour. I wanted to spend some time. There's a fascinating article written by the Wall Street Journal. It's 22 pages long, and I'm gonna try to get to as much of it as I possibly can. We knew that Joe Biden was, 1 enchilada short of a combination plate. We knew he was lacking, right? And we it was no surprise to anybody. The guy was missing a step. It's very obvious how he got lost every time he went into the East Room of the White House for some kind of event. Couldn't remember how to get on or off the stage unless somebody grabbed him by the hand. And we kept, no, he's in charge. He's absolutely in charge. Well, the Wall Street Journal has been spending some time looking at exactly how the Biden White House was able to prop him up and to support him in his diminished capacity. And they talked to 50 different people who had some insight to that particular story. It's fascinating. Fascinating. I'm going to hit some high points here. You ready? To adapt the White House around the needs of a diminished leader, they told visitors to keep meetings focused. Interactions with senior Democrat lawmakers and some cabinet members, including powerful secretaries such as Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, were infrequent, or they grew less frequent over time. Some legislative leaders had a hard time getting the president's ear at key moments, including ahead of the U.S.'s disastrous pullout of Afghanistan. Yeah, this goes back to that, the early days of the Biden administration. Senior advisors were often put into roles that some administration officials and lawmakers thought Biden should occupy. See, the staff was running the place, with such people as National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Senior Counselor Steve Ricchetti, and National Economic Council head Lael Brainerd, and her predecessor frequently in the position of being go-betweens for the president. Press aides, listen to this. This is telling. Press aides who compiled packages of news clips for Biden. In other words, there's always at the White House, there's always some aides who will scan all the newspapers and scan all the websites and print off stories and present a pile of them to the president for his perusal so he knows what's going on in the world and what people are saying, right? It's been done time immemorial. Press aides who compiled packages of news clips for Biden were told by senior staff to exclude negative stories about the president. The president wasn't talking to his own pollsters, as surveys showed him trailing in the 2024 race. So he thought things were going great because they weren't showing him anything negative. He thought things were going great because nobody was giving him the poll numbers. They were just telling him, oh, yeah, the polls look great, Mr. President. Don't worry, everything's fine. Fine. So it makes sense that he didn't want to step aside. He thought he was doing great. He wasn't doing great, but he didn't know it. They were keeping him in isolation. They were, like Cabana Wife does sometimes, keeping things from him.
For your own good, Brian.
I thought you were going to say keeping you in isolation.
Yes, she does sometimes. Sometimes she keeps things from me. All in a good way. Presidents always have gatekeepers, but in Biden's case, the walls around him were higher and the controls greater, according to Democrat lawmakers, donors, and aides who work for Biden and other administrations. There were limits over who Biden spoke with, limits on what they said to him, limits around the sources of information that he consumed. Throughout his presidency, a small group of aides stuck close to Biden to assist him, especially when traveling or speaking to the public. They body him to such a high degree. I mean, when they say body him, it's a body person. Take care of everything. Said a person who witnessed it, he said, adding that the hand-holding is unlike anything other recent presidents have had. The White House operated this way even as the president and his aides pressed forward with a re-election bid, which unraveled spectacularly after his halting performance in a June debate with Donald Trump made his mental acuity an insurmountable issue. This account of how the White House functioned with an aging leader at the top of its organizational chart is based on interviews with nearly 50 people, including those who participated in or had direct knowledge of the operation. The president's slide, I'm skipping through here a little bit. There are two times where it really became evident. One was when he had to go for an interview with Robert Hur, the special counsel who investigated his handling of classified documents. The president couldn't recall lines that his team discussed with him. At events, aides often repeated instructions to him as to where to enter a stage or exit a stage that would be obvious to the average person. Biden's team tapped campaign co-chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg, a Hollywood mogul, to find a voice coach to improve the president's fading warble. The strategies to protect Biden worked largely until June 27th, When Biden stood on an Atlanta's debate stage with Trump, searching for words, unable to complete his thoughts on live television, much of the Democrat establishment had accepted the White House line that Biden was able to take the fight to Trump, even in the face of direct evidence to the contrary. Administration officials noted the president became tired in meetings if they went long and he would make mistakes. They issued a directive to some powerful lawmakers and allies seeking one-on-one time. The exchanges would be short and focused, according to people who received the message directly from White House aides. Ideally, the meetings would start later in the day since Biden has never been at his best first in the morning. Some of the people said his staff made these adjustments to limit potential missteps by Biden. The people said the president, known for long and rambling sessions at times, pushed in the opposite direction, wanting to take more time. They would try to cut meetings short so he wouldn't get tired or make a goof. No. That's fine. We're not in any hurry here. Listen to this. This is our president. Well, I'll tell you what. This is really telling. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, we're going to take a commercial break. Come back in a short while, and I'll continue this fascinating story on the Wall Street Journal. 22 past the hour. You know, I want to change your thinking about that Christmas gift you want to give to someone special. Instead of giving them something that may not fit or may not be the right color or might have to be exchanged, why don't you give them something different? Give them an adventure. Give them an introductory flight experience from the Tennessee Flight Training. I did this. It was a blast. You will actually meet and fly with a certified flight instructor. My flight was out of B&A. It was very cool, you know, because you're out there on the runway with the big 737s. And then we took off and circled the skyscrapers of downtown, looked down on Nissan Stadium, flew along the scenic Cumberland River. You can also book your flight out of Murray County Regional or Shelbyville Municipal Airport if that's more convenient for you. It can be just for fun, or it could be your first step toward getting your pilot's license. Did you know the aviation industry is facing a pilot shortage? Help yourself or a loved one jumpstart a new career in this in-demand, high-paying profession. Right now, you can save $50 when you purchase an introductory flight experience before December 24th. You've got to do it before then to save the money. For more details, why don't you give them a call, 1-800-669-0250, or just go to their website to learn more. It's pretty easy to remember. Tennessee, it's tnflighttraining.com, tnflighttraining.com. Tennessee Flight Training, the skies are calling.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
We'll tell you what President-elect Trump wants Congress to vote and pass tonight, coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. We'll be listening to the news here in just a short while. I've been reading from this bombshell Wall Street Journal story that really delved in. We knew it was bad, but now we're getting the facts behind what we've all suspected, that Biden was completely not in control of his own White House. Listen to this. Listen to this. They talked to some 50 people to put this story together. If the president was having an off day, meetings would be scrapped altogether. On one such occasion in the spring of 2021, that's early in this presidency, a national security official explained to another aide why a meeting needed to be rescheduled. Quote, you ready? He has good days and bad days, and today was a bad day, so we're going to address this tomorrow. While it isn't uncommon for politicians to want more time with the president than they get, some Democrats felt Biden was unusually hard to reach. That's what Representative Adam Smith of Washington found when he tried to share his concerns with the president ahead of the U.S. withdrawals from Afghanistan in 2021. Smith, a Democrat who then chaired the powerful House Armed Services Committee, was alarmed by what he viewed as an overly optimistic comment from Biden as the administration assembled plans for the operation. I was begging them to set expectations low, said Smith, who had worked extensively on the issue and harbored concerns about how the withdrawal might go. He sought to talk to Biden directly to share his insights about the region, but he couldn't get him on the phone. And after things fell apart, there's talk about how he criticized. He said he didn't think the administration was clear-eyed in their view of the situation. He got a hot call from Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, and he said he gave Blinken an earful. I tried to tell you this was going to happen. I mean, the disaster that was Afghanistan might have been prevented if he had gotten accurate information from other people. But he was blocked from doing so. They were keeping people from him. They were isolating this president. They were keeping him from getting the information he needed about stories and how his presidency was being perceived and how the polls looked when he decided he was going to run for re-election. One lawmaker who did get one-on-one time with Biden noticed that the president lacked stamina and relied heavily on his staff. Senator Joe Manchin, the West Virginia Democrat turned independent, who held up chunks of Biden's legislative agenda during the first half of Biden's term. Manchin said the job required a level of energy that he wasn't sure Biden had been able to sustain. I thought maybe the president has just lost that fight, Manchin said in an interview. The ability to continue to stay on and just grind it. Manchin noticed that Biden's staff played a much bigger role in driving the agenda than he had experienced in other administrations. Manchin referred to them as the Eager Beavers, a group that included then White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain. They were going, no, don't bother the president. We'll take care of that. It is amazing. This is scary stuff. This is so scary.
Yeah.
Now, when you have a president who's having a good day and a bad day, and all of a sudden there's a crisis, what do? Well, the president can't handle a crisis today. He's having a bad day. and here's this: over 4 years, quickly, Biden just held 9 full cabinet meetings, 3 in 2021, 2 in 2022, 3 in 2023, and just 1 this year. That is way less than the others. President Obama and Trump held 25. Obama held 19, Trump held 25. So he wasn't meeting with his cabinet. He was isolated, he was alone, and he was losing his ever-loving mind. Scary. There's going to be books written about this in the days ahead, I promise you. 31 past the hour.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Government shutdown watch. Stephen Portnoy says House GOP leaders say they've agreed to another deal after the first one was trashed after President-elect Trump said, trash it.
The measure House Republicans are now offering is slimmer than the package that was derailed yesterday. It would extend government funding for 3 months, add over $100 billion to the Disaster Relief Fund, reauthorize farm programs for another year, and at the request of President-elect Trump, suspend the debt ceiling for 2 years. Trump hails it as a success, but Democrats are saying it's not a serious proposal.
CEO murder suspect Luigi Mangione headed to the same jail holding Sean Diddy Combs and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried after his first court appearance in New York City today. Aaron Katursky says Mangione didn't enter a plea to the state charges that include terrorism.
He's due next here in federal court in January, but by then the U.S. Attorney's Office will no doubt work to secure an indictment. At that point, he'll have to enter a plea. His attorney has already signaled he's going to fight the charges, so we anticipate that plea would be not guilty.
Well, we just learned something new about the Middle East. Pentagon spokesman Major General Pat Ryder during his briefing making a surprise announcement. There are currently 2,000 U.S. troops in Syria, not 900, as often been stated publicly.
These additional forces are considered temporary rotational forces that deploy to meet shifting mission requirements, whereas the core 900 deployers are on longer-term deployments.
Ryder saying the doubling of U.S. troops in Syria occurred prior to the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad's government to augment the U.S. operations against ISIS. And here in Nashville, Metro Police putting out a reminder of a reward offered to try to identify the person responsible for the Christmas Day 2022 road rage murder of Christopher Sponhorst, a 37-year-old Greenbrier husband and father of 5, fatally shot while driving westbound on the East Loop downtown. The reward for information leading to the arrest or indictment of the driver of the black 2016-2017 Kia Optima sedan involved is up to $23,000. Anyone with information in his murder asked to call Crime Stoppers. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got a crash blocking the left 3 lanes. Briley Parkway northbound at Opry Mills. The East Bank eastbound right before exit 47. And then still west of Nashville, folks trying to get to Nashville. You've got the left lane block 40 eastbound between exit 152 and exit 163 by an overturned tractor trailer that was hauling 40,000 pounds of produce. In Berry Hill, we've got a crash, 65 northbound, right after 440. Harding Place, west of Nolensville Pike. And now a crash in Hadley Park. Left 2 lanes blocked, 40 westbound near Jefferson Street. And in Madison, 65 northbound near Old Hickory Boulevard, exit 92. We've got 40 eastbound near Spence Lane. There was a vehicle on fire. That's on the shoulder now. A lot of rubbernecking going on. And then near the airport, we've got a crash, 40 eastbound at Briley Parkway, exit 215. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, have you heard about this item that Costco has that sometimes it's hard to actually catch them when they have it? It's gold bars. They just can't keep them in stock. See, gold's breathtaking surge this year to repeated record highs hasn't stopped bullion from flying off the shelves. Gold is not only one of the best performing commodities, but it is outperforming other assets in many cases. The surge driven by its appeal as a safe haven asset in times of geopolitical and economic uncertainty. And you know where you can get gold when Costco doesn't have any? Well, you just go see my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin. That's what they do. They sell the same high-quality products as Costco and other national online retailers, and they will not overcharge you. And as a bonus, you'll be supporting a locally owned business. Kyle and Hannah are true experts, and you can count on top-of-the-line, personalized, customized customer service. Nashville Gold and Coin is the best place to buy gold in Middle Tennessee. You'll be dealing with experts instead of some random store clerk with zero knowledge about precious metals. So make an appointment today with Nashville Gold and Coin. Just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
"39 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Just, as you heard there in the newscast, it looks like they have come up with a plan in the House of Representatives to fund the government through, March or April of next year. And it met the approval, apparently, of Donald Trump. So if it passes the House today, and there's no guarantee, who knows how that's going to work, but it's supposed to come up for a vote about 5:30 our time. We'll be keeping an eye on it. Then it would go to the Senate, and the question is, what will the Democrats, who are still in control of the Senate, do with that? Do they just accept it and go home? And I think this will be pretty much it for the year. Or do they decide that they're going to fight it? We'll see what happens. But most people believe that the looming, it's always looming, it can't just be a government shutdown. It has to be a looming government shutdown.
Looming.
That's right. It's out there. It's scary. It's looming. Yeah. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that this afternoon. Woke up this morning. And was very sad to hear the news that Neil Cavuto, is leaving Fox News after 28 years at the network. Now, look, I was I wasn't there on day one when Fox News kicked off. I was still working for WTTG at the time, which was the Fox affiliate in Washington, D.C., was anchoring their morning show there in Washington. This upstart guy, Roger Ailes, started something called the Fox News Channel. And I sort of made my bones in Washington as being somebody who covered politics. That's what I ended up doing. I covered the Hill for a lot of years. And so politics was sort of what I did at WTTG. And all of a sudden, you had this thing called Fox News Channel, which was doing that for me. And I was like, they sort of kicked the rug right out from underneath me.
What am I going to do now?
Kick the chair right out from underneath me because they're doing it, and that's what I was doing. Wait. And so I eventually joined the Fox News Channel in year 2 and worked there from years 2 through 14. That's how it's 28 years old. The company. So I was there 12 years, but it's been in existence now 28 years. And one of the first people on the air in the very early days of Fox News, when most people couldn't see it, because it wasn't on a lot of cable channels in the early going. We had to really fight to get on cable channels. In fact, even when I came on 2 years later, we were still seen by just a small part of America. But when people saw it, they liked it. I remember the story that my mom and dad told me. Because I was on Fox News, and my parents in Odessa, Texas, could not get it on their cable system. Most cable systems were sort of maxed out. They had so many channels at the day, and it was hard to add channels. If you added a channel, you pretty much had to take one down, and so they weren't interested in doing that. So one day, my parents noticed there were people driving through the alleys taking some kind of count. They couldn't figure out what it was. A few days later, they found out what it was all about. There was a new cable company coming into town, and they were going through alleys, and they were looking for people who had satellite dishes. Well, I had gotten my parents a satellite dish so that they could start to see some of the things I was doing. And so they knocked on the door and said, "Hey, would you like to get Fox News? Without having to have the satellite dish?" And my mom and dad hated the satellite dish anyway, so they were happy to, they dropped that like a bad habit and they signed up. But then it became a thing. If you didn't have Fox News, you were going to lose people because people wanted Fox News, and it became very much in demand. And then I remember, while I was there, it became the #1 cable news network for news. It happened while I was there, but for the early days, you would say, "What do you do?" "I work for Fox News." "What's that?" They knew about Fox, where they could watch The Simpsons.
Married with Children and all that, but they didn't even. The Tracy Ullman Show was the first show, and you know where the Simpsons came from? Tracy Ullman Show.
It was in the Tracy Ullman Show. It was a segment. It was a cartoon segment inside the Tracy Ullman sort of variety show, and so. About 5-6 years into it, we started to really grow very quickly, and there were some big stories. We had wars in the Middle East. I was very instrumental in covering the D.C. sniper story, which really put us on the map because we really just were all over that story in a huge way, in the way that our competition, CNN, was not. So people started coming to us, but at the very beginning, long before any of that started to take hold, Neil Cavuto was one of the first anchors. And then, he did that. He did a show for many, many years. It was sort of business oriented. It'd be, it would be focused on, the stock market is just closed. So here's what that all means. And he was so solid. Mr. Consistency. And I didn't know Neil that well because he was based out of New York and I was based out of Washington. But I knew him enough. If I went to the mothership in New York, I would always stop by and just poke my head in and say hello to Neil. He was beloved by his staff. People adore this guy at Fox News. Well, now, today is his last day on the air. His contract is up at the end of the month. So this is his last day. He's going to take some time off for vacation. He won't be coming back
According to Mediaite, which broke the story, Cavuto is one of the few remaining on-air talents still with the network after joining at its inception in the late 1990s. A beloved presence at Fox, his exit is not the consequence of any bad blood, but rather an increasingly common industry reality. Cavuto was offered a new contract, which he declined to accept, and Fox wanted him to stay on board, but a source explained he ultimately decided to leave. And you know what? I believe that to be true. I believe they wanted him to stay because everybody loved him. But he's getting up in age, and most people don't know this. It's not a hidden fact. He's talked about it. He has some health problems, some challenges. He has MS, which you would never know because he hides it so well and deals with that every day. He had to have heart surgery last year. One of the things I've noticed of late is when I would see him on the air, say, he looks great. Neil looks great. He looks like he's lost a little weight. His color is good. But I don't think there's anybody there, with perhaps the exception of Sean Hannity, who has been there since the very start, day one of the Fox News channel. And so to see, Cavuto leave, it's the end of an era. He's been there for the longest time. Then he's responsible for, I think, I added it up something like he does a couple of shows a day. He does one on the Business Channel and one on the Fox News Channel. 12 hours of programming, I think, a day. So he's really cranking it out, right? So what a good guy. One of the really good ones in broadcasting. A guy, I think one of the highest compliments you can have as a broadcaster is when people meet you, they say, that person in person is just exactly like they are on TV. Well, what you saw was what you got with Neil Cavuto. George Stephanopoulos, who just had to pay $15 million, $16 million, actually, for defaming Donald Trump, has signed a new contract with ABC News. He wasn't happy with it, with the fact that they decided to do it, to pay him out rather than fight it in court. But that often happens. They don't want to lose George. I quite frankly don't see the attraction. But one way or the other, George ain't going nowhere. By the way, this story with regard to that whole lawsuit from New York Post. ABC's George Stephanopoulos was repeatedly warned not to use the word rape by a producer, but did it anyway. So this was all going to come out in the trial. Stephanopoulos was repeatedly told by his executive producer not to use the word rape before going on the air to discuss Donald Trump's case. The ABC anchor ignored the warning, a decision that cost the network $16 million. Parent company Disney's capitulation last week in the defamation lawsuit by Donald Trump against ABC News and Stephanopoulos shocked media and legal experts. But the damning revelation could help explain why the Mouse House CEO, Mouse House, that's what they, Disney, CEO Bob Iger signed off on the settlement so quickly. If that had come out as evidence, it would have been very damning. During the interview with Representative Nancy Mace on This Week, he said Trump was liable for rape while discussing the civil lawsuit won by journalist E. Jean Carroll. The producer said, don't use the word rape before the segment, but he did, about 10 times during the course of that interview. Trump was going to win that one, and that's why, ultimately, the legal department at Disney said, boss, the damage that will be done in that trial is going to be a lot worse than $16 million. Let's settle this and live to fight another day, and they did. But Stephanopoulos is not going anywhere. You can make a screw-up like that at ABC News, and they keep you. They sign you up to a new contract. 51 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. Big news from DT McCall. You're thinking about buying a gun safe. Listen, let's just stop for a moment. You know, you may be thinking about, you've always wanted one. Dad always wanted one. Wouldn't it be a great gift for him on Christmas morning? He'd love it. You see, gun safes are sales tax free. That's right. You don't have to pay a penny of sales tax. And so, you know, when you're not keeping your guns in the tree stand, you need to keep them in a gun safe. A Liberty gun safe from DT McCall. DT McCall's is the largest Liberty safe dealer in all of Tennessee, and there's a reason for that. Free delivery and setup. Others charge $500 at least for delivery and setup of the big models and $300 for the smaller models. DT McCall & Sons delivers every safe free every time period, never a setup charge. Security is important, and a Liberty gun safe from DT McCall's can be used for valuables, cash, jewelry, important documents, wills, deeds, car titles, whatever you need to keep safe from theft or fire. So save some big bucks now on your Liberty gun safe when you shop at your local DT McCall's. Just go to dtmccalls.com for locations and information.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Well, we're waiting to see if this new government spending bill will pass tonight. And we've learned something new about U.S. troop presence in Syria coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, I was just all this talk about Neil Cavuto, thinking back to the early days. It really was interesting. My first day on the job in Washington was April 15th, tax day. It's how I remember it. Tax day in 1986. And I arrived there. I took the metro in, and I had to walk up Connecticut Avenue to the station, and begin my first day, and I was shocked and stunned to see a giant crane in front of the building taking down the name of the company I thought I was going to work for, which was Metro Media Television, and they were replacing with something called Fox Television. And I came to find out it was the very first day of Fox Television. They had bought up all of the Metro Media stations that were independent stations around the country. And I went in to talk to my news director. I said, well, what's going on? Do I still have a job? She said, oh, yeah, you're the first new hire at Fox. And she said, this guy, Rupert Murdoch, wants to start a fourth network. I said, well, a lot of people have tried to do that. And he said, yeah, but I think this guy's going to do it. And you know what he did? He started one night a week with, special programming, the Tracy Ullman Show. Then they added another night, and then another night, and another night. So they had programming for a full week, and it started to catch on. And then, it was years later that he started about 14 years later, 12 years later, he started the Fox News Channel. And so, and that took off. But you got to remember that, back in the day, none of that existed when I first started. I was there had a front seat row on watching all of those things start to come together.
I remember being a little kid when the Fox network first started and thinking, wow, what is this? This is different programming. Because it was so wild. It was way different than everything else.
It was very different. Yeah. And, Married with Children was the big hit back in the day.
Yeah.
And put it on the map. And then I remember one of the biggest things that he did was he got a football contract with the NFL. And when he got the football contract, all of a sudden, the other networks started to pay attention.
Yeah.
But by that time, it was too late. The Fox Entertainment Channel was competing with the original big three, ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Yep.
And then Fox News came along and became the number one news. So what a story that is, because it didn't exist before April 15th of 1986 at all.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Anyway, 59 past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
5 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And we are waiting to see if this new spending plan House GOP leaders say they've agreed to passes tonight. In fact, they may be voting on it right now. This was Republican North Carolina Congressman Tom Tillis urging it on behalf of hurricane victims in need of disaster relief.
The people of North Carolina, the people of South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, the list goes on, Tennessee, need relief today.
President-elect Trump says to pass this thing tonight. The man charged with killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is in the same federal jail in New York as Sean Diddy Combs and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried. Luigi Mangione detained after his first court appearance in New York today, where he did not enter pleas to state charges that include terrorism. Federal charges have been filed, too, and he will likely have to enter a plea to those at his next court appearance next month. We have learned something new about U.S. troop presence in Syria today. Pentagon spokesman Major General Pat Ryder during his briefing.
We have been briefing you regularly that there are approximately 900 U.S. troops deployed to Syria. In light of the situation in Syria and the significant interest, we recently learned that those numbers were higher, and so asked to look into it. I learned today that in fact there are approximately 2,000 U.S. troops in Syria.
Reuters saying the doubling of U.S. troops in eastern Syria occurred prior to the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad's government. They are to augment the U.S. operations against ISIS. Here in Nashville, Metro Police putting out the reminder of a reward to try to identify the person responsible for the Christmas Day 2022 road rage murder of Christopher Sponhorst, a 37-year-old Greenbrier husband and father of 5, fatally shot while driving westbound on the East Loop downtown. Police say the killer was in a black 2016-2017 Kia Optima sedan. Anyone with information leading to the arrest or indictment of that driver is eligible for up to $23,000. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. And law enforcement officers charged over their response to the 2022 Robb Elementary shooting are closer to a trial date. Brian Clark said one of them sought to have charges thrown out.
Former school police chief in Uvalde, Texas, was not successful in having his indictment over the May 2022 school shooting thrown out. Instead, Pete Arredondo's been ordered to stand trial along with former school police officer Adrian Gonzalez. Their tentative trial date set for October. Arredondo and his attorneys maintain that only the gunman who killed 19 students and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary was responsible. He and Gonzalez, the only law enforcement officers criminally charged, have both pleaded not guilty.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, it is a bumpy drive home today. We've got a crash eastbound East Loop there at exit 47. Still got that crash 60 miles west of Nashville. That's an overturned tractor trailer hauling 40,000 pounds of produce that overturned. It's blocking the left lane, 40 eastbound there between exits 152 and exits 163. That's a 3-hour delay. Back here in Berry Hill, we've got 65 northbound after 440. And then in Donaldson, a crash, McGavick Pike near Lebanon Pike. Briley Parkway northbound right there at Opry Mills. The left 3 lanes are blocked by a crash. Then you've got in Madison, 65 northbound at Old Hickory Boulevard. Hadley Park got a crash, 40 westbound near Jefferson Street. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good evening, everyone. 7 past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7 o'clock, where Mark Levin takes over. One of the last shows. That's right. This is so we got to tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday. And that's it.
That's all.
We will park the drive. We'll put the drive in park. We'll engage the emergency brake. And we'll probably sell the vehicle for spare parts.
Siphon the gas out.
Yeah, that's right, and put it into deep storage.
And let old boy standing out there on Demumry and siphon the gas out for us.
That's right.
He's waiting.
No, we're gonna sell it for scrap metal. Yeah,
it's big money in that these days.
Yeah, I guess there might be.
According to the crackheads down on the corner.
Hell, up and down I-24, you'll see it.
So don't worry, I'm going to be around, but I mean the last full-time show will be Tuesday. So be there. But I really would appreciate if you drop by on Tuesday. I don't know. I'm going to be a wreck.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it'll be difficult.
It's emotional. Yeah. It is emotional because I'm walking away at the end of 50 years in this business, one way or the other. Wow. That's right. I'm 69, and I started when I was 19.
Yes, sir.
And that checks out, I guess.
I'll be geezing a lot on Tuesday. Telling old
more
stories.
Than usual?
What do you mean? Well, I mean, I am rather melancholy these days, thinking back on the old days and some of the things that I've gotten to do. And so I'll spend some time. I wrote a book, and then I decided not to do anything with it. But there's a couple of really cool passages that I wrote about things that I happen to be involved in and things that I got in the middle of. I think I might read a couple of excerpts from that book on Tuesday. And then if everybody likes it, maybe I'll go ahead and in my retirement, I'll finish it up.
There you go.
And maybe, sell a few. I don't know. Something I'm thinking about. One way or the other. What's going on right now, though, is we got to keep an eye on the House of Representatives because they're in the middle of a debate now on a new plan to fund the government that was sort of initiated in the last 24 hours. So they were going to vote on it yesterday, and then Donald Trump said, no, that's a bunch of pork, and that's a bad idea. Don't do that. And then Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk got on board and started trashing it and said, hey, if you vote for this, you shouldn't be reelected ever. Sort of a veiled threat that if you vote for this, we're going to come after you. We'll primary you. And there's one thing that gets a member of Congress's attention is that the possibility that they might get primaried or they might get, somebody campaigning against them in the next election. In other words, coming after their cushy job. So the whole thing fell apart. It wasn't going to. So they took it down yesterday, and they renegotiated. Trump has signed off on the new measure, which is a lot better than the old measure. A lot of the pork is gone, and now we're waiting to see whether that they can get enough votes in the House of Representatives to send it over to the Senate. But the news of the last few minutes is that the Democrats have said, we had a deal, we negotiated a deal, you have reneged on the deal, we're not going to vote for this sucker. So that means that every single Republican must vote for this or it's not going to pass. Now, it's hard to get every single Republican on board with anything. It's like herding cats. So we're watching it right now. Debate is happening on the floor of the Senate. Maybe we can pick up some of the debate. The Democrats are against it right now, and Republicans are saying we should go with this measure. Let's see who they pull up next. The Democrat just got through talking.
Mr. Speaker, we've had a lot of talk about what's not in this bill. Maybe we ought to talk a little bit about what's in this bill.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps the government.
Tom Cole of Oklahoma.
Say they want to do, and I think they're sincere in that. This does that. It provides relief to people in the various disaster areas around the country at an amount that they agree to, and we agree to, and we share that in common. It provides aid for farmers who've suffered through several years of droughts and disaster and a systemic crisis that, as my friend from Missouri mentioned, is costing us farms. It extends important health care provisions into the next year. There's nothing in here you're against. There's not a single thing in this bill that you oppose. So if you can't vote for what you're for, please don't lecture us about what, if I had this and this and this, I'd vote for it. You vote no, you're voting to shut down the government. If you vote no, you're voting to deny aid to people with disaster. If you vote no, you're voting against helping American farmers and ranchers at a difficult time. And if you vote no, you're voting to strip important provisions that are being extended into next year. Why? Because you don't want to give the next president enough time to get organized. And you want to use the debt to leverage. The extension of the debt ceiling is what we've done for the last 2 years. It's what you supported 2 years ago. There's no change in that whatsoever. So if you want to fight other things and other battles, that's great. I welcome debate. I think it's a legitimate debate. But you're voting against a bill that everything in it you support. Every single thing. And you're doing that for political purposes. So please don't lecture us about that. We present something that keeps the government open, that provides aid to people, that provides support for farmers, that extends important provisions, and you're not opposed to any of that, and yet you're going to oppose the bill. And if a government shutdown comes, and I sincerely hope it does not, please don't tell us that those of us that voted to keep the government open while you voted to let it close are somehow responsible. That's just not.
Well, what's happening here is that you have the Democrats are saying that it's going to be a Republican shutdown is what they're calling it. You change the deal, you're responsible, it's your shutdown. Now it's pointing the fingers of blame one against the other. That's typical stuff, isn't it? So, we'll be watching this because debate started about 4:30 our time. And it's supposed to be about 40 minutes of debate. So we're getting right to the point now where the final vote in the House will be coming up here in just a moment. And we'll see how things go and how it shakes out. Probably in this hour, we'll know whether this thing is going to survive or not.
I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Moskowitz.
Let's see who we got. Mr. Moskowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. Let's talk about the last 2 years. It was the Democrats who raised the debt ceiling, not the Republicans last time. Many of you voted against it. It was the Democrats who kept over the government, not once, not twice, but every single time we needed to keep the government open, it was the Democrats who kept the government open. More of us voted for it than you. And all I've heard for the last couple of weeks about it, this giant mandate, landslide, trifecta, put on your big boy pants, pass your own bill. We're only here because you guys can't agree amongst yourselves. So hold on a second. Democrats will keep government open for the American people. We will mediate the disagreements between that side of the room and that side of the room. We will do that for you, but you got to at least invite us to that meeting. So if you want us to solve your problem because you can't agree amongst yourselves, reach out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Time has expired. The gentlewoman reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma.
Well, we'll check back in on this, but here's the other thing. It really is sort of interesting how this all happened. Donald Trump said no. And then you got Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk who said, nope, you better not do that. If you do that, you're going to find yourself, being primaried and you will not, we will be against you. You don't want Donald Trump and Elon Musk against you because they got the money to finance a campaign in a primary against you. So that's what's going on here. And then there's this really surprise thing happened yesterday in that Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky, suggested, you know what we need to do? We need to make Elon Musk the Speaker of the House. Now, you know what? It's an interesting idea. Elon Musk, talk about being able in a position to cut government waste, fraud, and abuse. As Speaker of the House, you could do it. Remember, Republicans are going to control the Senate and the House, and we're going to have the White House. So, coming back in January and after the president takes the oath of office, we're going to be it. If it doesn't go well, guess whose fault it's going to be? It's going to be ours. And the American people They voted for change. Well, that no bigger change than having Elon Musk as the Speaker of the House. Yeah, I've heard people say, well, he's not a natural-born citizen and he's in the line of succession. I don't think it matters. It just means he wouldn't be eligible to become president if there was a vacancy. It would go, I think it goes, I have to look this up every time, but I think it goes vice president would fill, and then it would go to the Speaker of the House. But if he wasn't eligible, then it would go to the next person in the line, which would be, I think, the president pro tempore of the Senate.
That is correct.
Yes. And I think that would be in the new Senate would be Chuck Grassley of Iowa. President Grassley. Boy, that would be fun. But one way or the other, there's a way around that, I think. And so I'm sort of curious how you feel about that idea. Let's open up the phone lines and ask you that question. Number one, if this thing doesn't pass here in a few minutes, are you okay if the government closes? Number two, how do you feel about the idea of Elon Musk as the Speaker of the House? You don't have to be a member of the House to be the Speaker of the House. Just as you don't have to be a lawyer to be a member of to be a justice in the Supreme Court. Did you know that? There's all kinds of weird little things like that. But no, you don't have to be a member of the House to be Speaker of the House. Now, there's never been somebody from the outside who's been Speaker. But if you really want to change things, if you really want to make this thing different, what an interesting idea that is. 615-737-9986. Would love to hear what you think about it. Love to give your thoughts. And while we're watching the action on the floor, let's take a few calls here if we could. Let's see. Are we ready? Alan? Alan, you're up first on the drive. Alan, tell me what you think about all this.
Thumbs up all the way, no question. It's just common sense. But how can you make an argument? I mean, what grounds do you have? So I think it's absolutely spot on.
All right. Well, listen, people are lining up to talk. The phone lines are full, but as soon as we take some of these calls, we'll have room. 615-737-9986. Right now, let's call it 20 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. More of your calls coming up in just a moment. Make this a magical Christmas with help from Genesis Diamonds. You'll love what's happening this month at Genesis. They've got 5 years, 0% interest financing across the board. Just pick any spectacular gift, divide the price by 60, and that is your payment. Everything is affordable. And guys, Genesis has what women love, from simple diamond stud earrings to amazing, one-of-a-kind designer bracelets. Their showcases are filled with exquisite diamond rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, and bands. Can't miss gifts with exquisite craftsmanship and lasting value. All of Genesis' exclusive designers are showcasing their latest creation so you can get her something truly unique and special. And Genesis non-commission experts will help you pick out that gift that's sure to bring tears to her eyes on Christmas morning. This year, get her the most romantic, most memorable gift from the season. Genesis Diamonds, best value, best selection, best quality, and best overall experience. Get holiday store hours, directions, and finance details at GenesisDiamonds.com. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Waiting to see if this new spending measure passes. Details at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
24 past the hour. House of Representatives getting ready to take a vote and see whether or not they can keep the government open or whether it's going to fall apart. Democrats are actively against this new measure that has come up today, negotiated by Republicans after Donald Trump said, Elon Musk said, Vivek Ramaswamy said, not going to do it, not going to do it. And so they had to come up with a different plan, and now they've stripped some of the pork out of there to try to take a vote. But now the Democrats are against it because some of the things they wanted, some of the lard they wanted in that bill has been taken out. So, and then the question is, are you ready for the government shutdown if they can't come to agreement? And how do you feel about this idea being floated of Elon Musk as Speaker of the House? To the phone lines we go. Karen in Pleasant View. Hello, Karen. You're on with Brian on the drive. So, first of all, you okay if they shut down the government? Does it bother you one whit?
It does not bother me one bit. I love it. It's a list that you can hand over to Elon and say, these are called non-essential. So by their very definition, here's your cut list. And I laughed out loud when you said that he would be considered for Speaker of the House. That is amazing.
Yeah, it would be fun to watch, wouldn't it? I mean, talk about changing government forever. That would be a big change, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes. And before I get off the line, Brian, thank you for the magic that you have brought to Middle Tennessee and to the network and to the airways. And we're going to miss you, but we really appreciate what you've done here.
Well, that's very sweet of you, Karen. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. John in Nashville, you're up next on the drive. So, let's go through it. Are you okay if the government closes down?
Mr. Bryan, be very much okay with it. It would show the change that we're wanting. I would be a big fan. I am a big fan of Musk. He, like Trump, has succeeded where so many people would not and would fail. And when he puts his mind on something, he goes for it. My only concern would be his true ability to dedicate the time needed to it with all of his other ventures. Real quick, Brian, I appreciate the call. Like she just said, love having you here. My 13-year-old son, Peter's in the car with me. He has loved and is always wanting to listen to you every chance he gets. So I'm excited to get the call in before your retirement.
Well, John, thank you so much. And Peter, thank you so much for being a loyal listener. We have a lot of young listeners to this program, and we greatly appreciate them. And that's very sweet of you to say. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it very much. It means a lot. Danny in Selmer. Hey, Danny, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Danny?
Evening, sir. Hey, I just want to add that, I think Elon Musk or anyone that's untouchable, a business mind rather than a career politician, I'll be Speaker of the House and any other position we can get for some people actually drain this swamp. And further, I think that they were asking for a 40% pay raise, vote that in for themselves. I think we all say, here, we're going to hook you up at a time like this. We're going to give you a 40% pay cut until we figure out how to get this budget squared away and debt paid off. And if you want to raise or go back to what you was getting paid, figure out how to come up with it. Maybe they give us some incentive to get things squared away.
Somebody pointed out that their approval rating is 19%. If you were doing an annual review for an employee and you thought that they were doing their approval rating as an employee was 19%, you'd fire that person. You wouldn't even give them a raise, that's for sure. So, I think that's something to think about. Will, out on the road. Hey, Will, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say?
Well, let's be honest. The government shutting down, what are we really going to see from that? What have they really done in the past 4 years anyway? So shutting down won't do a thing. And as far as Elon Musk, I don't really know that much about him outside of what I've heard on the radio. But if he's willing to do the job and he's capable of doing the job, I say let him do it. Who we have there is obviously incapable of it.
Okay, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Will. Appreciate the call. Let's take a look at the floor. Rosa DeLauro is a Democrat with purple hair, and she's wrapping up.
The gentlewoman.
I implore my colleagues to vote no on this bill.
All right. So that's the last hurrah for the Democrats. Let's see if we hear
The gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
This is the
Speaker,
final
may I
argument.
inquire how much time I have left?
1.5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself the balance of my time.
Gentleman's recognized.
Here we go.
It's been an
Final
interesting
argument.
debate. It's been a good debate. It's been a lot of interesting points made. But the fact is, there's nothing in this legislation that you oppose. You don't oppose keeping the government open. This keeps it open until March 14th. We're going to be voting for that in overwhelming numbers. You support aid to people in distress. This bill does that. You're going to be voting no. We're going to be voting yes. We think the rural economy is in crisis. There's important aid in here for it. Aid, you support it. We're going to be voting for it. You're going to be voting against it. That's just the facts. You consider legislation one piece at a time. There's not a single thing in here that you oppose, except maybe the debt limit extension, which is the same debt limit extension you supported 2 years ago. So I urge my colleagues to vote yes and keep the government open, help people in need, help the rural economy, and let us move forward with our work. With that, Mr. Speaker, I urge passage of the bill and yield back.
And now
Gentleman yields.
We go to the
Question is,
vote.
will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill, H.R. 10515? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative.
Not really.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Connecticut seek recognition?
Guess what? I request a recorded vote.
And
Does the
they are off. We'll watch and see what's going on. Right now, time for the news at 5:31.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Talking about cold and a few flurries. And the wind. It's going to be biting. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And as you just heard, they're getting ready to vote on that new plan to keep the government from shutting down, which President-elect Trump calls a success. It pushes out the debt ceiling 2 years. President-elect Trump has said all Republicans, even Democrats, should do what is best for our country and vote yes for this bill tonight. We'll see how it goes. The man charged with killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is in jail in New York. A judge ordering Luigi Mangione detained after his first court appearance in New York today. He did not enter a plea to the stalking and murder charges that carry a terrorism aspect to it. He also faces federal charges. Mangione's lawyer would not answer questions outside of the court.
We're going to respectfully decline to make any comment at this time. But Mr. Mangione appreciates everyone's support. Thank you so much.
Next court appearance next month. Until then, Mangione will be held in the same federal lockup as Sean Diddy Combs and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried. Here in Nashville, Metro Police says a special initiative to combat vehicle theft and related crimes just hit a milestone. 1,000 arrests since it launched on February 1st. Detectives say yesterday they spotted 28-year-old Casey Harding Jr. in a stolen Dodge Ram pickup near Trinity Lane and Whites Creek Pike. He ran away but was caught in a women's boutique pretending to buy a dress. And sentencing today in a trial that has shaken France. 72-year-old Dominique Palicot given the maximum prison sentence of 20 years after he was found guilty of all charges in the gang rapes and drugging of his wife. Here's Tom Sufi Burridge.
Police think there were about 70 men who went round to the family home over nearly a decade, invited, recruited online by Dominique Palicot, and then basically filmed by him as they raped and abused his then wife. It's an absolutely horrific case.
50 other defendants have been convicted. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, still got that crash eastbound East Loop before Jefferson Street. Then west of Nashville, eastbound 40. Left lane is blocked there between exits 152 and exit 163 by a semi. that overturned carrying 40,000 pounds of produce. In Berry Hill, 65 northbound, right after 440, got a crash. Police on the scene. That's the latest news, or rather, traffic. We got it every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Restoration Wellness is a leader in advanced therapy treatments for arthrosis and chronic pain in Middle Tennessee. Chronic pain affects 20% of all adults in the U.S. Chronic pain increases with age, affecting nearly 50% of all adults over the age of 65. So don't let your chronic pain control your life. Restoration Wellness has the newest technology and joint injections, which is a minimally invasive treatment to relieve pain without needing surgery. These joint injection treatments can help relieve anything from shoulder pain, hip pain, knee pain, everything in between. They put together personalized treatment plans specific to your needs at the office there. Let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your health goals this year. Here's the number. Call them, 615-470-8124, or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. You're going to meet my friends Carly and Jamie, who will take good care of you like they take care of me and like they take care of their own family. So say goodbye to your chronic pain and get a new lease on life. Don't let chronic pain control your life. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
We are watching the floor of the House of Representatives, and the Speaker of the House is now talking to reporters outside. Let's listen in.
That we have that diversity in the marketplace, and our food supply is directly related to national security. So it's a very, very important thing for both parties to do to provide that aid. We also have a clean extension of the Farm Bill, a clean extension of health extenders that are necessary, and a couple of other details. Everything that I just told you was negotiated in a bipartisan fashion. Both parties agreed to these terms, and that's what's on the floor right now. The only change in this legislation is that we are going to push the debt limit to January 30th of 2027. We will push it beyond that, or to that time point, and that will allow us to do the important work of governing in the new Congress. Why does that matter? Because we are committed to cutting hundreds of billions of dollars of wasteful spending out of the federal budget. That's what we're going to do. The Doge effort with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the commitments that President Trump made on the campaign trail will come to fruition when we get about that very important work for the American people. The government is too big, it does too many things, and it does very few things well. We're going to cut and limit the size and scope of the government and get it under control for the American people. We have a mandate to do so. President Trump received 77 million votes in the election. House Republicans, 74.7 million votes, the most in history. We know what we are to do. We're determined to do that. And even though this vote would push the debt limit to 2027, It in no way reflects any lack of enthusiasm on our part to get about those serious cuts for the American people. We have to have fiscal responsibility as a core principle of our party. So that's what the House Republicans are committed to, every single one of them. We will get together and do that work, and it begins in early January. I hope that this vote passes tonight. We will send it to the Senate. We will extend funding, and we'll come back, and we will have the America First agenda come in roaring in January for the American people. Thank you so much.
And he walks away. He says he hopes it passes. I got some bad news for him. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to pass. They have a motion to suspend the rules and pass the bill, which would basically then, be sent over to the Senate. But to pass, you got to have a majority of votes. And the way it looks to me right now, there are 15, with still a lot of votes to be counted, but 15 Republicans who have voted against the measure. Well, you don't have that kind of margin in the House of Representatives. So it's 91 in favor, 149 against. No Democrats are voting for this measure, and 15 Republicans are voting against it as well. So with 5 minutes and 56 seconds left on the clock, this is not looking particularly good. But I tell you what, we'll keep an eye on it and come back to it. This may be one of those things where they keep the vote open for a while, and you see the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader of the House go around and twist a few elbows and see what they can do, but it doesn't look good at the moment. And if they can't pass this, then the question is, well, what next? Because the thought was whatever the House would pass, maybe the Senate would just go ahead and pass it to be done with it. But it doesn't look like it's going to pass the House right now. So, motion to suspend the rules and pass the bill. The yeas and nays not going in favor of the measure at this moment. We'll keep an eye on it. So I tell you what, I'm going to call an audible. While we're waiting on the other votes to go, let's go ahead and do what we normally do. Would that be all right? Do a little bit of Three Amigos?
Ooh, Three Amigos.
Yeah. I know I'm throwing a curveball at you, aren't I?
No, if the computer would cooperate, which it is now.
We'll come back to it if we have any kind of news. But in the meantime, let's spend a few moments with the Three Amigos. Amigo number one is Ken Weaver.
Good evening, boys. Yes.
And there's Chris Weber. He's Amigo number two.
Happy holidays.
And I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and I'm Amigo number three. This, you know the gig. We just talk about this, that, and the other. You guys, I've been watching this. I've got mine ready, but you always go first today, and I'll sum things up. And again, if we have news, we'll break back into it.
All right.
All right. Yesterday, Ken, can we do something that's not R-rated?
I kept it adult level.
Yeah. I think there may have been a few people who would disagree with that. But go ahead. What's yours today, Ken?
Let's keep this adult level, boys.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
This comes from the New York Post. A perfect $75 diaper allows adult concert goers to pee themselves in the mosh pit.
Oh, my gosh.
It's being called an innovative new solution. Concert goers are opting to do that in diapers rather than leave and miss the show. It's only $75. It is by the company, it's a beverage company known as Liquid Death.
Oh, yes.
They have collaborated with Depend. And they have come up with the name Pit Diaper.
Ugh.
Costs $75. Never leave the safety of the mosh pit for a mid-show bathroom break.
That's
Customers can strap on the embellished black pleather diaper, which is a
pleather. It's pleather. Okay.
It is a low rise, one size fits all item with an adjustable hip and waist circumference. That's good for boys like me. It combines function with a rock and roll aesthetic as it features a metal key clip, spikes, a chain, and a belt with gold embroidered skulls on the front.
People will buy anything.
Yes,
won't they?
they will.
Yeah,
This is sounding like they're wanting you to wear it on the outside,
yes.
or nothing over it. In other words,
that looks like that's what it's for. But here's the thing: they're not the first. Apparently, wacky concert goers known as Swifties have already strapped on adult diapers so they don't miss Tay-Tay.
Oh, my gosh.
I can't read the comments from some of these
No,
traders.
I think better that we don't.
I'll say this.
Go ahead.
It is a legitimate issue if you want to be in the pit or you want to be on the, at the front of the stage.
Right.
Once you're there, if you leave, you're not getting back.
No.
So I can understand how it would be a concern to people, and I hate to break it to everyone, but people weren't necessarily wearing Depends, but they weren't holding it the entire show.
No.
People were just going.
Yeah, some of the...
Oh, my gosh.
I guarantee it happens.
Some of the pits I was in.
Yep.
But, and here's the thing, you're probably going to have the pit all to yourself if you come in wearing one of these.
On the outside, especially.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never been in a mosh pit, so you guys have an experience that I haven't had.
Yeah, I'm way too old for that now.
There's no way I'd do it.
I would like to be the moshee. I'd like to be the guy that falls backwards off the stage.
The issue is that you can't enjoy. I don't see how you people enjoy the show when it's a legitimate mosh pit and they're just slamming one another, and you're not listening, you're not paying attention, you're not taking it in.
Right.
You're fighting for your life.
Yes,
I've stood at the back of a mosh pit before, not in the pit, but back beyond it, and I still had to push people off of me.
The last mosh pit I got into, I was knocked into the back of a fella that's about as big as Brother Brian. This dude turned around and got in a 3-point stance.
Uh-oh.
And he pushed me out of the pit and everybody that was behind me.
Wow.
I could feel people bouncing off of my back. And when he got to the clearing, he basically threw me. I went like 5 feet and landed, and that is the last mosh pit I ever got in.
Yeah, understandable.
All right, what do you got, Chris?
All right, this one is kind of one of the dumb crook stories. This comes from Chesterfield County, Virginia. People, they do this in just about every city across the country, at least a lot of them. The whole Shop with a Cop events that they do during the Christmas time where law enforcement go to stores and help pick out presents for children, the underprivileged children and stuff like that. Well, this event, Shop with a Cop, was happening at a Walmart store there in Chesterfield County, Virginia. But it took a strange turn when officers were told that there was a shoplifter inside the store. This was during the Shop with a Cop event, as dozens of police and sheriff's deputies were in the store. A member of the staff at Walmart came up to us and informed us they had a shoplifting in progress, says Chesterfield County Police Lieutenant James Lamb. He says between the sheriff's department and police officers, we had about 50 uniformed personnel at the store. Security footage showed the man concealing merchandise and attempting to leave the store, and officers who were already there quickly began searching for him. Yeah, they said as we approached from different directions, he tried to escape out of the back of the store, but he was apprehended. I think he was stunned, said Officer Lamb. I would imagine he was. He was later identified as a 32-year-old Hector Velasquez, and he attempted the crime for whatever reason, even though there were multiple police vehicles present outside the store. As a matter of fact, when they found his vehicle, it was facing the police cars. So there was no way that he didn't see them.
He knew they were there.
He just didn't care. But
wow,
he will care now that he is charged with shoplifting and faces a felony grand larceny charge.
Oh, my goodness.
Maybe he thought people would be so shocked that he could get away with it.
Or they'd be so busy shopping for the kids that they wouldn't notice.
They're distracted over there playing, where you're shopping for the kids, and they won't be paying attention to the fact that I'm ripping off the car. They're like, that's ridiculous.
He was wrong.
All right, I got one here, and this is, I pride myself in this show as being a repository of all the latest news about the moon. I'm the moon news guy, remember?
Yeah.
The moon may be more than 100 million years older than previously thought. Now, how's that for a headline? Yeah, they were off by 100 million years.
Man.
New research challenges the idea that the moon formed roughly 4.35 billion years ago after a Mars-sized object smashed into the early Earth. See, the moon is supposed to have come from the Earth in a collision.
Really?
That's one of the theories. But they've been looking at the moon rocks that were brought back during the Apollo missions, and it suggests that the moon formed earlier. And they say that what you have when they carbon dated the moon rocks, it goes back to the time that the moon surface melted, but not when it was formed. That was some 100 million years earlier. And apparently at one time the surface of the moon melted. And that's what has been picked up in the carbon dating.
So that's what they thought, that, okay, this was when it was formed, but it wasn't.
It turns out now, and apparently it's a very complex thing about tides and gravitational pulls, but apparently it warped the moon in a way that it caused it to superheat. And that process altered the lunar surface and hid the moon's real age. So they now believe that the moon is 100 million years older than they previously thought.
It's amazing that they can know this stuff, if they really can, or are they just guessing?
Yeah,
that's what I always wonder. They're smarter than me.
All right. So I've been trying to listen to you guys and keep one eye on what's happening on the floor of the House. The vote is just about to wrap up, and it is not going well for this measure. We'll take a break, and I'll fill you in on the other side. 50 minutes now past the hour. You know, it's a crazy time out there, and, the markets have been, really volatile of late, and you may be wondering, have I got everything that I need to have for my retirement? Am I making the right investments? If you're thinking about that, you're not alone, but there are steps that you can take now to be better positioned regardless of what happens. You deserve the confidence to know that no matter what is going on in the economy, you have a plan that helps keep your financial goals in line with your life's priorities. If you're in or nearing retirement, Beacon Capital Management has a free retirement-ready toolkit just for you. You'll get a Money Enough for Life book, a retirement planning checklist, and a Maximizing Your Retirement Income white paper. No cost, no obligation, no pressure. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, to get your free retirement-ready toolkit. The number again, write it down, 615-488-9303.
Well, the U.S. House is voting on the interim spending bill. We'll give you the very latest coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, I'm watching the floor of the House right now, and this is not even close.
Yeah.
This bill is not passing. So this was Plan B. I guess we're going to need a Plan C. Or D or E or F. I don't know where we are.
On this vote, the yeas are 174, the nays are 235, one voting present, two-thirds not being in the affirmative. The rules are not suspended and the bill is not passed.
Well, that's it.
Let's check Truth Social here, see what President-elect Trump might say about it here.
Yeah, I mean, it is done. That is not even close to what they needed to get this thing done. So, well, look, unless they come up with a miracle solution here, the House is now in recess, subject to call of the chair. That's what they put up when they can't figure out what to do. We'll see what happens here. We're watching it, but it did not pass, even close to what they needed to get this thing passed. So, two things are possible: either they come up with another plan tomorrow that everybody can get on board with, or the government shuts down. Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Merry Christmas, everyone. Your government in action.
It'll be interesting.
So, I mean, just to recap where we are here, we were going to a vote yesterday on an agreed-upon deal that had been worked out with the Democrats. And then the president-elect said, no, we hate that. We don't want you to do that. Don't do it. And then Elon Musk got on board and Vivek Ramaswamy got on board, and that whole thing fell apart. He didn't have near the votes he needed to pass it, and so it died. Plan B today was a cleaned-up version of that, and it has died. So we'll try to make sense of all this in the next hour. Is there going to be a government shutdown? It's looking increasingly as if that may well be the case. We're watching it for you here on Super Talk 99.7, 59 minutes past the hour.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And the House, as you just heard, has failed to pass a Plan B measure that would have avoided a government shutdown. This was Speaker Mike Johnson speaking to reporters after the heated debate.
We're going to cut and limit the size and scope of the government and get it under control for the American people. We have a mandate to do so. President Trump received 77 million votes in the election. House Republicans, 74.7 million votes, the most in history. We know what we are to do.
Now, President-elect Trump backed this Plan B, particularly supportive of the part that pushed out the debt ceiling by 2 years to January 30th, 2027. He urged Congress to pass it tonight, but it has not passed yet. No comment from the attorney for CEO Brian Thompson's accused killer, Luigi Mangione, after he appeared in court today in New York after waiving extradition in Pennsylvania.
We're going to respectfully decline to make any comment at this time, but Mr. Mangione appreciates everyone's support. Thank you so much.
Aaron Katursky says Mangione didn't enter any pleas and a magistrate ordered him detained. He's due next in federal court next month and will most likely have to enter a plea.
In all likelihood, he is on his way now to MDC Brooklyn. That is the federal lockup closest by, just across the bridge. It's where Sean Combs happens to be incarcerated at the moment, Sam Bankman-Fried. But he is likely, given the nature of the charges and the fact that one of them carries the possibility of the death penalty, he is likely to be held in isolated fashion.
Here in Nashville, 28-year-old Corey Harding Jr. is a milestone for a new vehicle theft initiative launched by Metro Police. He marks the 1,000th arrest since it was launched February 1st. Police say they caught Harding yesterday trying to hide out in a women's boutique, pretending to buy a dress. After he had run from a stolen pickup he was spotted in near Trinity Lane and Whites Creek Pike. Texas Governor Greg Abbott announcing messages on billboards to fight illegal immigration through his state today.
We are launching a new campaign to deter illegal immigration into Texas. Yesterday, we began putting up billboards, dozens of billboards, in Central America and in Mexico. They inform potential illegal immigrants about the reality of what will happen to them if they try to enter Texas illegally.
Basically, they say stop or you'll be arrested. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, we've got an overturned tractor trailer still blocking the left lane 40 eastbound between exits 152 and 163. That's a nearly 3-hour delay. Right here at Sylvan Park, we've got a crash 40 westbound before White Bridge Pike, and then Old Hickory Boulevard at Nolansville Pike. 65 northbound after 440. That is an earlier accident expected to be cleared here pretty soon. Then 24 westbound now in Whites Creek. That's near Old Hickory Boulevard. And looks like Antioch. 24 eastbound near Harding Place, a crash. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone, on this Thursday, December 19th. I got to tell you that the way it looks to this reporter, we are probably talking about a government shutdown. Maybe they'll find some miracle way to revive it, but in the last hour, the House of Representatives has rejected in a big way the Plan B. Now, Plan A
got shot down yesterday when Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk all said, no, that's too much pork. You should not vote for this. And so Republican support fell apart, and Johnson pulled the Plan A off the table. Now, this Plan A had been negotiated with the Democrats, and the Democrats started howling, hey, you promised us. This was the deal we cut, and now you've yanked it. You've gone back on your deal. You've reneged. So we're not going to vote for it. So when he came up with Plan B, which was, really a streamlined version of Plan A that took away a lot of the pork and extended the debt ceiling, they decided to take another vote a few moments ago, and it did not even come close to passing. So as it stands right now, there's a big question mark as to what happens. If they do not come up with some plan, the government will start shutting down on Friday. Now, let me just go ahead and tell you right now that if that happens, it ain't that big a deal, honestly, if the government shuts down. Look, you can't get anything done between the week between Christmas and New Year's anyway in Washington. Everybody's on vacation. So government workers were probably going to be off anyway. And believe me, it's hard to get things done, anything happening that week. And then when the new Congress will come back in after that, and maybe they'll be able to come up with something. So the government might close, but you're still going to have your Social Security checks. There's still going to be, the Pentagon is unaffected by all this. Our troops are unaffected by all this. There's going to be a few things that shut down if that happens, but you probably won't notice. You probably won't notice. Unless you want to go to like a national park. That's the picture you always get. Is that, when the government shuts down, they put signs up, sorry, the national park is closed today. You can't go into Yellowstone. I'm sorry. Yellowstone is closed today.
Moose out front should have told you.
That's right. Hey, boo-boo. The park is closed. So it'll be closed, and that may happen. Now, again, I have seen many, many, many times where it looks pretty dire and it looks like the government's going to shut down. And somehow at the very last moment, they rally, they come up with a plan, and everybody gets on board and they come up with a short-term solution. But right now, it's a mess. It's a dumpster fire up on Capitol Hill. Look, you have to give credit to Trump and Ramaswamy and Elon Musk for taking a $1,500-page bill and turning it into a 116-page bill. Pretty amazing. How it was easy to get all that much out of there. But even that couldn't find support. None of the Democrats were going to vote for it because they wanted the pork that was in there. And about 35, I think, I have to get the exact number, but about 35 or so Republicans voted against it as well. You needed, actually, under the rules that were in place, you needed about 2/3 vote in support of it, and they didn't come anywhere close to that. Even if you'd done it in a regular order, it wouldn't have passed. And you certainly did not get in these expedited procedures near the votes you needed. So what happens next? Well, Plan B just went down in flames. So get ready for Plan C. And, when times like this happen, what happens is they put up a graphic and say, the House is in recess, subject to call of the chair. And the chair, they're all going back in and slamming some bourbon and trying to figure out, what do we do now? How do we fix this problem? Let me read a couple of stories that are out now, see if there's new details here that I've missed. House on Thursday torpedoed Speaker Mike Johnson's Plan B to avert a government shutdown and suspend the debt limit, dealing a blow to the GOP leader and catapulting the conference back to square one as it stares down Friday's funding deadline. The measure, which Johnson rolled out roughly 3 hours before the vote, failed to clear the chamber in a 174 to 235 vote, one person voting present, falling short of the two-thirds threshold needed for passage under the fast-track suspension of the rules. The bill met its demise after Democrats, led by Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who called the legislation laughable, and a handful of conservative Republicans came out against the legislation, largely over the inclusion of a 2-year suspension of the debt limit, which was a demand made by President-elect Trump. It remains unclear what path Johnson pursues next. There's the understatement of it. It remains unclear. Given the Republican opposition, the bill is unlikely to pass in the slim GOP majority if Johnson attempts another vote through a longer rule process that requires a simple majority. Speaking to reporters as the vote was underway, you heard it here, Johnson did not say what the next step would be. The clock, however, is ticking. If Congress does not approve any legislation by 11:59 p.m. tomorrow, the government will shut down. The unsuccessful vote deals a blow to Johnson, who's scrambling to avert a shutdown by the looming deadline, keeping his grasp on the gavel to come next year, and to Trump, who endorsed the package after torpedoing the speaker's initial proposal. Johnson rolled out Plan B Thursday afternoon. After hours of closed-door meetings with ideologically diverse array of House Republicans, the proposal would have kept the government funded at current levels through March 14th, suspended the debt limit for 2 years, which Trump wanted, and appropriated roughly $100 billion in disaster relief and about $10 billion for farmer economic assistance, while stripping away a number of policy provisions that were in the original 1,500-page bill. Trump quickly backed the package, calling it a very good deal for the American people, and urged lawmakers to support it, but they didn't. Dumpster fire. Big old dumpster fire. But a handful of Republicans rejected the call, most immediately hammering away at the legislation. More debt, more government, increasing the credit card $4 trillion with zero spending restraints and cuts. A hard no, said Representative Chip Roy of Texas. And he had about 37 Republicans who voted the same way. Only a couple of Democrats voted for it, all Democrats otherwise against it. So here we go. I got another one coming hot off the printer. There's another take on it. President-elect Donald Trump encouraged Republicans to block the massive stopgap funding bill measure put forward initially by House Speaker Mike Johnson, and instead support a streamlined package that would deliver aid to farmers and those impacted by natural disaster. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise did not rule out the chance of a partial shutdown when he spoke to reporters about the government funding quagmire Thursday morning. But you've got to start here, get your work done in the House. That's what we're focused on. One reporter asked, will there be a shutdown? Well, we're focused on making sure that doesn't happen. But we're not the only ones that control that. We're going to try to get it done, Scalise responded. But, at the end of the day, it fell hard. It went down big time. So, I don't know. I think it's pretty likely that, I've covered a lot of these last-minute things, a bunch of them in the House and the Senate. As I said, I wish I had a nickel for every time I was spending Christmas Eve on Capitol Hill waiting for them to find a way to fund the government before they went home for the holidays. And it is remarkable how many times they find a way to do it. But at this point, you know what? I think it's probably just okay to just let the government shut down over the holidays and start over again with the new Congress. No problem there as far as I'm concerned. And see if we can come up with a different plan with, it will be, now the new Congress will form before Trump takes office on the 20th of January. You see, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? So maybe the Senate will do something and send it over to the House and see if it can pass muster, but I don't imagine that it's going to pass muster. I think they're all sitting right now in the back rooms in the Speaker's lobby, and I think they're all scratching their head trying to figure out how in the world are we going to get out of this mess. So, this one looks rather dire. I've seen dire situations, present themselves before. and then somehow they miraculously pull some rabbit out of the hat, and they get it done and go home. But, can you imagine coming home to North Carolina or to East Tennessee where they're looking for some of the disaster relief and say, well, I'm sorry, we couldn't get it done. That is the one of the sad things. Will they eventually get their money? Yeah, I think that will happen. I think everybody's in agreement that money needs to be spent to help the people who were so severely damaged by Hurricane Helene in Florida, North Carolina, and East Tennessee. I think that will happen, but it may be a little while. Okay, let's see what else it says here. I think that's it. I think it's done. Again, nobody knows what Plan C is going to be at this point. And it's interesting. This is what Donald Trump wanted. He signed off on this. So this was a rebellion. Donald Trump was a rebellion against what the status quo. But to some degree, a few members of the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives said, even what Donald Trump has insisted upon is not good enough for us. Interesting times. Interesting times. So again, understand this. If they let the government shut down and they wait for the new Congress to come into place and the Republican Senate and the Republican House could come up with something, it would go to President Biden until January 20th. Are we in for a government shutdown that runs all the way till January 20th? Is that something that might happen? I don't know. I guess I know you're saying, I don't know an awful lot. Well, this is a pretty weird situation. I've never seen one quite like this one, where they shut down one idea at the very last moment, came up with a plan that was supposed to be better and everybody's going to sign off on, but then a bunch of people didn't sign off on it. It sort of reminds me of the continued votes we had for speaker when we couldn't get a speaker. Remember, we'd vote and we'd vote and we'd vote and we'd vote. We couldn't get the speaker. I wonder how many votes we're going to have before we pass something that keeps the government in operation. So I tell you what, we're going to take a commercial break, and I'm going to do a rare thing. We don't normally open up the phones in the 6 o'clock hour, but I'd like to know what you think about this. What is your recommendation? Let the government close? Your thoughts, 615-737-9986 right now, 20 minutes past the hour.
Well, we are waiting to see what's next now that Trump-backed Plan B government spending bill has failed, and we learn more about U.S. troop presence in Syria. We've got these stories and the day's closing money news coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's right. Plan A got taken down yesterday. Plan B got voted on, and it died a hard death today in the House of Representatives. And that means that if we can't come up with a Plan C that everybody can sign on to, the government will close down. Now, the way this works, just to give you sort of a rundown here, is the government would close at Friday midnight, tomorrow at midnight, and then until some budgeting plan could be approved by both the House and Senate, it would remain closed until that happens. So it could be, and so if you wait to the next Congress, where the Republicans are in charge, it would form on January 3rd of next year. And then on January 3rd, when the House and the Senate are going to be controlled by Republicans, they would still have to send anything they passed over to Joe Biden, who's still president, until the 20th at noon. What a weird, isn't it something, Ken? I mean, this is bizarre, isn't it?
This is, man, we have been in bizarro world ever since 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, there are days like this that I go, I don't really want to quit working. This is too fascinating.
I'm telling you, man, how are you going to get away from it?
I know. I mean, I have a feeling I'll be standing around saying, please, can I get on the air? I have something I need to say. I need to get this on my chest real quick. I need to say, hell, let me have a microphone for just a couple minutes. I just got to get this stuff off my chest. I think that's the way it's going to be.
We're going to hear you in the queue.
Yeah, that's right. Excuse me. Can I have a word? Can I get in here?
Oh, there's Brian again.
That guy.
He just won't go away.
He just won't get the message. That's right. So 615-737-9986 if you have a thought about this. Bubba in Antioch, what do you make of this craziness, Bubba?
Oh, I tell you, I'm a retired federal worker, and it's not a good situation. We're talking about families who's going to miss paychecks and so forth. I know the ones that, like I was with Homeland Security when I retired, and, they're essential workers. They have to be there. And I know, like in 2018 when I was there, we were out a total of 35 days one time and 3 days of the other, and you're without paychecks. And the military suffers. The commissioned officers on up, they get paid, but the enlisted people down do not get paid. I don't care what you say, they do not get paid. We're talking about the rest of the government will get furloughed, like your IRS and so forth.
But don't they? Isn't it true, Bubba? I mean, I hear you, and I know a lot of people can't survive that long without a paycheck, and most Americans would be in real trouble if they missed one or two paychecks, and I certainly understand that. But and that's not good. But but eventually they make you whole, don't they?
They do it again.
They make you whole. They come back in and say, okay, you missed this pay, but now we're gonna make good on it, right?
Yeah, you eventually get your paycheck. Now the people that are furloughed do not. They're laid off eventually. That's what that means. You're laid off. You do not get a paycheck. When you come back to work, you start over again. So, and you get paid every 2 weeks. So you got to work 2 weeks before you get a paycheck. Like in 2018, we were out 35 days at one time and 3 days the other. So, yeah, it affects families.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I don't mean to make light of that situation, but I mean, it at some point, the things have gotten so out of control. And the politicians have gotten so out of touch with where the American people are. This is sort of what we voted for, wasn't it? We want real, meaningful change. And change can be hard. There's no doubt about that. But how this dumpster fire is going to be resolved is anybody's guess, I would say. Very quick, let me get Mark in Clarksville on the line. Hey, Mark, what's your thought about all this?
Hey, Brian, yeah, my thought was completely different until I heard what Bubba just said. I thought that shutdown was going to be like the most amazing thing possible to get the current administration from doing any more damage. But if Bubba is correct, I can't say that I'm feeling the same way.
Yep, it's tough. It's tough on people who are government workers. But again, this is a strange situation. Very strange situation that we're in right now. We asked for change, and so when you say no, you got to quit spending government money, and people stand their ground and say no, we're just not going to continue to add to the federal debt. We're going to say no, no, no until we get this thing under control. And you got a president who says we're going to trim $2 trillion from the budget, and I'm going to put Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy in charge of doing that. Well, we're sort of setting the stage for some of the battles that are going to be coming in the days ahead, I think. Listen, thank you so much for the calls. Greatly appreciated. It's now 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7. Time for the news.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. So the President-elect Trump-backed Plan B government spending plan has failed the latest House vote, 174 yay to 235 nay, one person voting present. Now, this increases the possibility of a partial government shutdown with the deadline for a deal coming tomorrow night at 11:59. Trump's support for the bill was in large part to the part of the deal that would push out the debt ceiling by 2 years. And we've learned more about U.S. troop presence in Syria. Pentagon spokesman Major General Pat Ryder during his briefing today making a surprise announcement that there are currently 2,000 U.S. troops in Syria, not 900 as often been stated publicly.
These additional forces are considered temporary rotational forces that deploy to meet shifting mission requirements, whereas the core 900 deployers are on longer-term deployments.
Yeah, he says the doubling occurred prior to the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad's government. Money News, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks ended mixed Thursday following one of their worst days of the year. The Dow Jones ended a 10-day losing streak, adding 16 points. The Nasdaq dropped 20. The S&P closed 5 points lower. The government says the economy grew at a healthy 3.1% from July to September. So far, the gross domestic product has topped 2% in 8 of the last 9 quarters. Workers at 7 Amazon delivery stations across the U.S. are on strike. The Teamsters Union says 10,000 workers are on picket lines. Amazon says the strike is not impacting its operations during the busy holiday shipping period. Ireland has second thoughts about embracing the building of data centers that power the artificial intelligence boom. The Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and TikTok centers are consuming too much energy, increasing fears of future rolling blackouts.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. West Nashville, you've got the left lane blocked, 40 westbound, right before White Bridge Pike, Briley Parkway West, exit 204. Whites Creek, looking at a crash, 24 westbound near Old Hickory Boulevard. Antioch, a crash, 24 eastbound at near Harding Place. Another one, 24 eastbound at Haywood Lane in Antioch. And in Berry Hill, we've got 440 westbound at 65. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Grace Point Healthcare provides affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine. Best known for this thing called a Smart Care plan, and you really should think about it. It's a good way to go. $69 a month, and you get all your office visits covered, all your free basic labs and diagnostic tests. As long as you're paying that $69, it's all covered. At Grace Point, you're usually seen the same or next day. No long wait times in the waiting rooms. And Grace Point is your primary provider that treats the entire family from newborn to seniors. You know, feeling run down? Do you have intestinal issues, rashes, hives, sinus problems? You may have a food allergy. Get tested and learn what foods to avoid in your diet. Grace Point is a military veteran-owned practice located in the heart of Franklin. So if you want to make an appointment, it's pretty easy. Just call this number, 615-599-6868, to schedule your next medical appointment. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about Spice and Easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
"38 minutes past the hour. We got about 22 minutes to go before we wrap it up and hand it over to Mark Levin, who will carry on through the evening. We are so glad that you're with us here on this December 19th. If you've missed joining us, the big news of the evening is that the plan to fund the government, Plan B, did not pass the House of Representatives, not even coming close. So now we're in a situation where Congress is trying to figure out how they might pass something to keep the government funded. If they do not, then it will the government will have to shut down Friday at midnight, tomorrow at midnight. So this will be no doubt the big story tomorrow, and we'll be here tomorrow to cover all of that. So don't you miss it. I'm going to actually, Chris, I'm going to be downtown tomorrow.
Oh, well, we better clean the place up.
Yeah, listen, try to spiff it up a little bit for me, If my key card still works, I'll be there. planning to be there. And so we'll see you there in person tomorrow at the station. And then, we're watching that. And I don't think there's anything else to say about that right now, except that the future plans for funding the government are unclear at this moment. And the situation, as they say, is quote unquote fluid. It's fluid. I want to go back to this story because it's astonishing to me. We knew that Biden wasn't really, all that in a bag of chips. We knew he was, the last one I used is one enchilada short of a combination plate. There's a bunch of those, and I can't think of any of the other ones right now.
Something about a picnic.
One sandwich short of a picnic?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Something like that. I don't know. But we knew he wasn't quite, the elevator didn't go all the way to the top. We were pretty sure there were problems there. But I don't think we realized that how early on in the administration these problems began to reveal themselves. And we didn't understand to the depths that staffers at the White House were going to cover for him and to protect him and to, sort of prop him up. But that all changed with a story that came out today in the Wall Street Journal, which is remarkable. It goes about 22 pages. They talked to some 50 people, nearly 50 people who were, in a position to know things, got them to speak, some of them on the record, some of them off the record, but they got them to speak about what was going on behind the scenes and what they saw. And I think at the end of the day, I think when FDR finally passed from the scene, and they changed the law that said a president can only serve 2 terms. It was because, maybe FDR was in worse shape than we knew at the time, and that word got around, and Congress got together and passed it, and it became law, and now you can only serve 2 terms. I'm wondering if we're going to have a similar conversation, once Biden officially gets out of there. And people are free to talk about just how bad it was. Listen to some of this. It was going back to the early days of his administration. I'm going to read from large sections of this story from the Wall Street Journal. Good reporting here. To adapt the White House around the needs of a diminished leader, they told visitors to keep meetings focused, interactions with senior Democrat lawmakers and sub-cabinet members, including powerful secretaries such as the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, were infrequent visitors, and they grew less frequent over time. Some legislative leaders had a hard time getting the president's ear at key moments, including ahead of the U.S. disastrous pullout from Afghanistan. That was early on in the Biden administration. Senior advisors were often put into roles that some administration officials and lawmakers thought Biden should occupy, with people such as National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Senior Counselor Steve Ricchetti, and National Economics Council head Lael Brainerd and her predecessor frequently in the position of being go-betweens for the president. You don't need to talk to him about that. Talk to me. Press aides who compiled packages of news clips for Biden were told by senior staff to exclude negative stories about the president. The president wasn't talking to his own pollsters, as surveys showed him trailing in the 2024 race. Presidents always have gatekeepers, but in Biden's case, the walls around him were higher and the controls greater, according to Democrat lawmakers, donors, and aides who work for Biden and other administrations. There were limits over who Biden spoke with, limits on what they said to him, and limits around the sources of information he consumed. They were protecting him. They were shielding him. I mean, if your daily press packet, I mean, each president every day gets a national security briefing and a press packet. Here's what's, things going on in the world you need to know about what people are saying. If they called away all of the negative stories, Biden didn't have a good sense that he was failing. And that's why he kept saying, hey, everybody loves what we're doing. Well, everything's great. There's no problem. What are you talking about? Well, they weren't sharing the bad stuff with him. He was isolated. He was insulated. And they were keeping things from him. The president of the United States wasn't being told the real situation. How scary. How scary that is. Throughout his presidency, a small group of aides stuck close to Biden to assist him, especially when traveling or speaking to the public. The White House operated this way even as the president and his aides pressed forward with his re-election bid, which unraveled spectacularly after his halting performance in a June debate with Donald Trump made his mental acuity an insurmountable issue. The account of how the White House functioned with an aging leader at the top of its organizational chart is based on interviews with nearly 50 people, including those who participated in or had direct knowledge of the operations. President's slide had been hard to overlook while preparing last year for his interview with Robert K. Hur, the special counsel who investigated Biden's handling of classified documents. The president couldn't recall lines that his teams discussed with him. At events, aides often repeated instructions to him, such as where to enter or exit a stage that would be obvious to the average person. He always walked around like he was a lost puppy. I mean, the East Room of the White House, where they do a lot of these ceremonial things, not a very complex room. You walk onto the stage, you walk off of the stage. It's pretty simple. And he always seemed to be lost. Biden's team tapped campaign co-chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg, a Hollywood mogul, at one point to find a voice coach to improve the president's fading warble. His mumbling. Strategies to protect Biden largely worked until June 27th, when Biden stood on the Atlanta debate stage with Trump, searching for words and unable to complete his thoughts on live television. Much of the Democratic establishment had accepted the White House line that Biden was able to take the fight to Trump, even in the face of direct evidence to the contrary. You can't hide it on the debate stage. You can't hide it when you're being interrogated by a special counsel. Administration officials noticed the president became tired if meetings went long and would make mistakes. They issued a directive to some powerful lawmakers and allies seeking one-on-one time. Okay, we'll let you in, but it's got to be short and focused, according to people who received the message directly from the White House. Ideally, the meetings would start later in the day. They said Biden wasn't very good in the morning. Some of the people said his staff made those adjustments to limit potential missteps by Biden. The president is known for long and rambling sessions, at times pushed in the opposite direction, wanting to take more time. Listen to this. If the president was having an off day, meetings would be scrapped altogether. On one such occasion, in the spring of 2021, this is early on in the Biden administration, the spring of 2021, a national security official explained to another aide why a meeting needed to be rescheduled. Quote, he has good days and bad days, and today was a bad day, so we're going to address this tomorrow. Well, what happens if all hell breaks loose and the president's having a bad day? It's scary, isn't it? It's frightening. Representative Adam Smith of Washington tried to reach out to him with concerns about the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. This was in the early days. Smith, a Democrat who then chaired the powerful House Armed Services Committee, was alarmed by what he viewed as overly optimistic comments from Biden as the administration assembled plans for the operation. I was begging them to set expectation low, said Smith, who had worked extensively on the issue and harbored concerns about how the withdrawal might go. He wanted to talk to Biden directly to share his insights about the region, but couldn't get him on the phone. After the disastrous withdrawal, which left 13 U.S. service members and more than 170 Afghans dead, Smith made a critical comment to the Washington Post about the administration lacking a clear-eyed view of the U.S.-backed government's durability. It was among comments that triggered an angry phone call from then, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who ended up getting an earful from the frustrated chairman. Shortly after Smith got an apologetic call from Biden, it was the only phone call that Biden had with him in the 4 years he was in office. Biden White House was more insulated than most, Smith said. I spoke with Barack Obama a number of occasions when I was president, and I wasn't even chairman of a committee then. Joe Manchin says he noticed a lack of stamina, that he relied heavily on his staff. I thought maybe the president just had lost that fight, he said. the ability to continue to stay on, to just grind it out. Instead, Biden directing follow-up. Manchin noticed that Biden's staff played a much bigger role driving his agenda than he had experienced in other administrations. Because the president simply was not in charge of his own White House. It was being run by White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain and a bunch of eager beavers, says Manchin. They said, when he would race, they could say, oh, don't bother the president with that. We'll take care of that. No, don't worry, don't bother. We're handling it. Wow. It goes on and on and on to talk about some of the things that were happening and how secretaries couldn't get in to see him. In the last year of his presidency, there's only been one cabinet meeting. And overall, over the course of his presidency, over 4 years, far fewer cabinet meetings than Obama held and Trump held. So he wasn't hearing from the people who were supposed to be helping him run the government. It is scary just how bad the situation had gotten. That his staff was covering for him. And then when it gets down to the campaign, he thought he was doing fine because he had not seen any of the negative stories. They kept the negative stories from him, and they wouldn't let him talk directly to the pollsters. He thought everything was just ducky. He seemed shocked when he found out that it wasn't so good. He kept saying things about, oh, yeah, the polls look great. We're not worried at all. Well, they weren't giving him the polls. They weren't giving him the tough information. He was a president out of touch with reality, and a lot of that falls on the staff who kept information from him. I think when all is said and done, we're going to look back at this presidency and have a different feeling about a president who seems to be slipping, a president who doesn't seem to be in control of his own White House. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have some legislation that comes out of this. 52 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. Hey, the folks over at Busy Bee, William and Brandon, they want to say Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and your family. And they want you to know that if you're finding at the end of the year that you need to do something with that aging, heat pump, that aging system, AC, HVAC system, they've got some ideas for you. They've got a number of 1 1/2 to 3 ton split heat pumps for residential unit replacements, only $6,995. That includes labor, equipment, material, and warranty. They say this system offers a great balance of energy efficiency and year-round comfort for residential homes. How about a $69 mainline camera inspection from the outside cleanout or a free package upgrade for air duct cleaning? Buy a basic air duct cleaning system and plan, and they will upgrade to the next package. If you do the middle tier, they'll give you the premium air duct cleaning programs for no extra money. Get a $500 gift card after installation of a whole home main water or drain line replacement or a whole home water or drain repipe. For satisfaction guaranteed, call the good people at Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833. Learn more by going to busybeehvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
"57 minutes now past the hour, just a few minutes away from Mark Levin coming in here and taking over the place. I always love it when he's here. We love it when he's here.
Always look over my shoulder whenever I hear that.
Where? Is he here? Be afraid. Now, he's a pussycat. You'd be surprised what a sweet man he is. Yeah, I mean, you really would be if you ever spending time around him. He's a lovely guy. So, I guess where we need to leave things tonight is things are in turmoil. Just in case you haven't heard the developments in the last hour or so, that after having to pull Plan A to fund the government in the House of Representatives because Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy and Musk didn't like it, and they said there was too much pork in it, and you should do away with it. They came in with a stripped down version of it, and it went to the floor of the House, and it died. It died a hard death. It didn't come even close to passing. And so the question is, what's going to happen if nothing happens between now, and they don't find a solution to this problem between now and midnight tomorrow, then the government will have to shut down.
during the Christmas holidays, and who knows how long it's going to take to find a solution to this thing, because it's a sticky wicket. It is. So we're waiting to see what the next thing that happens out of the Capitol Hill, and how that is all going to be resolved. But it's not real clear at this point how they're going to get this thing done. It is at least possible that the government will shut down through the Christmas holiday, and will not. They won't make another attempt to do this until the new Congress forms on January 3rd. But then, even though the new Congress is going to be controlled by Republicans from the House and the Senate, you'll still have to deal with Joe Biden, who won't give up his position as president until the 20th. We'll try to unwrap it all tomorrow. Have yourself a good evening, everyone.